Welcome, everyone, and you're listening to the Columbus Comics Corner podcast, episode 8.
If I could see you right now, I think that I could do anything. Phone lines and satellites are holding your words and your breath in agreement. Words and your breath in agreement. Words and your breath in agreement. Words and your breath in
Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 8 of the Columbus Comics Corner podcast. We are glad to be back with episode 8, having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting there to the big 50s and the hundreds and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we'll be there soon enough.
All the dollar bills. But just to get out any show stuff out of the way. As always, you can download all of our podcasts on our Podbean, which is columbuscomicscorner.podbean.com. Our website is columbuscomicscorner.blogspot.com. You can follow us and reach out to us on Twitter at Columbus Comics Corner. If you want to email us as well, you can email us at columbuscomicscorner@gmail.com. And just a reminder as well, we are on iTunes now, so you can subscribe to us there and go into our feed and rate and review us. Leave us any notes you want. We always appreciate it. And just before we get into the comics, this is a spoilers podcast for the comic books that we will be talking about for the week of November 16th, 2016. But before that, we got some movie/TV news and a little bit of comic book news that we're going to go over first before we get into the comics. So, yeah, what's up with the movie news?
Well, the first bit of movie news we have, I'm actually really excited about, so I've been waiting for this. Is that the Justice League Dark animated movie trailer just came out, the official trailer. And also we have a release date now of January the 24th, 2017. Obviously, it's going to be available for digital release at that time. And then the Blu-ray and DVD are going to come in February the 7th. I'm actually excited about this. I was excited when I heard the announcement of it because I know they had rumblings before of doing like a live action. But I think the animated would be pretty good for Justice League Dark. And then the trailer, I haven't watched the newest one, but the first one that they had was really good and really interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember if I remember the first one. I watched the second one a couple days ago, and I dug it. But yeah, it seemed like they announced it only like 6 months ago. And then now it's out, but maybe they were probably working on it for a while, I bet. But I liked it. It looked cool.
They were probably working on it for a while. I think Warner Brother Animation, I don't know how they decide what they're going to do next or, what their plans are, because for the most part, a lot of their recent animated movies have been falling into its own continuity. Yeah. Like a lot of the recent ones outside of The Killing Joke, and when they did The Dark Knight Returns, a lot of the other movies, though, are in the same little universe, starting with Flashpoint.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman and War.
Yeah, so if anybody's ever interested, you start with Flashpoint, and that's the beginning, because essentially that was when it was still the New 52. And obviously we know Flashpoint is what started the New 52. And that's what they were going for with the animated movies, was like a New 52 type universe, with the continuity. So it's Flashpoint, I believe it's Justice League Wars is the first official one.
I think so.
Then it's Throne of Atlantis, I think was the next one, because they had to bring Aquaman in. Mm-hmm. And then
I know they did Wonder Woman, maybe.
Well, the Batman ones followed then, because then you got Batman, and you got Son of the Batman, and it was like there was something else. And then they did the Blood Wars, which was also a Batman, and now we're bringing in Justice League Dark.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they have Batman kind of leading the squad a little bit instead of not having him in the. I would have preferred it just being like the Justice League Dark members, but they have to have their staple, their Batman staple, in there to get people to watch it, which makes sense because a lot of people probably aren't familiar with Justice League Dark.
Oh no, I tell people about Justice League Dark and what's that? Mm-hmm. I know Justice League was Justice League Dark. And for me, it feels like Batman, as far as like an established character, is the one that makes the most sense to actually introduce us to the Justice League. If we were going to go outside of like Batman as being the introduction character, I could have done Batwoman, because I know Batwoman, especially early on, dealt with a lot of the mystical elements and everything, and a lot of the darker characters.
Okay.
So I think that could have also been a good way to segue into introducing Justice League Dark. But if you're going to use an established character that everybody knows, Batman makes the most sense.
And Superman wouldn't work.
Superman wouldn't work, especially not because one of his weaknesses is magic. Like, I mean, that wouldn't work.
Nope.
Green Lantern wouldn't work. Flash wouldn't work.
Nah.
You know, so Cyborg definitely wouldn't have worked. So
Nope.
Batman.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm cool with
Definitely
that.
Check it out.
Next bit of news we got is really interesting, and I'm going to say this news, and then I'm going to give my theory on this, and I want your feedback on this theory.
Okay.
The next bit of news that came out is the fact that the Inhumans is not receiving a movie like we kind of thought it was all these years, but instead it's going to be a series that's going to air on ABC. Now, the first 2 episodes of this are going to actually premiere in IMAX theaters for 2 weeks. It's going to be about the late summer of 2017, so I'm guessing that they're going to go for late July, early August probably.
Yeah,
It's around the time it's probably going to air. Now, these 2 episodes, first 2 episodes, are going to be in there for 2 weeks before the actual network premiere on ABC. My thought on this is Marvel's been working some backdoor deals that we don't know about. And this was a vehicle that they were going to use in the movie universe, since they couldn't actually use like the X-Men. They couldn't use the mutants. So it only made sense to use the Inhumans, because I mean they're essentially like mutants. But now we're finding out that they're not going to use this in their movie universe. They still have that date reserved for all I know. My guess is that they worked some deal between ABC and a deal with Fox that's doing Legion to get the rights back to either Fantastic Four or the X-Men. And they're going to use that date that was for the original Inhumans movie to actually debut one of those 2 properties back into the Marvel Universe.
Would that be Phase 4? Would that necessarily be Phase 4 around then?
I can't remember if the Inhumans was slated for the end of Phase 3, because I know that there's going to be a couple movies in between the Infinity Wars movies, Part 1 and Part 2. I think it's going to be like Infinity Wars Part 1, and then there's supposed to be, I think, 2 movies, and then Infinity Wars Part 2.
Black Panther and maybe Captain Marvel.
Well, Black Panther is probably going to happen because the next movie is, I believe, Thor. And then we get Spider-Man Homecoming. And then I think we get Black Panther. And then I think we go into the Avengers.
Okay.
I think. I don't have my calendar in front of me with the release dates and all that. But I believe that's what it is. Like I said, my theory is that they're going to use that blank date now to reintroduce one of these properties.
Yeah, and we've been saying for a while that like we think and hopefully know that they're like talking like behind closed doors and like keeping everything super super hush hush and doing a really good job at it, because nowadays it would definitely have leaked out by now. So they're definitely meeting in back alleys like at 5 a.m. and having these discussions.
I think the Spider-Man deal with Sony kind of helped Marvel figure out how you juggle that, because for the longest, like, we didn't really know like that's what was going to happen. We knew from the, like you said, the leaks, the emo leaks from Sony, that they were having issues with Spider-Man, but we didn't know that they were actually going to sit down and talk with Marvel and come up with the agreement that they did. It's just like when Legion hit. When the news for Legion hit, that surprised a lot of people, because Marvel's been real standoffish with Fox.
Oh yeah.
And here Marvel is like, well, what we're do is we're actually help you with this show. Fox didn't have to do that.
Well, we should say Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is probably talking to these people. Because he's a
He probably is, because
smart man.
Kevin Feige is a genius, and he is the architect, as I like to call him. He is the architect of the Marvel Universe.
He is.
And at this point in time, he probably really sees, like, as well as the Marvel Universe is doing, it could have done better with these other characters in it. They could have went a lot bigger places a lot sooner with some of these characters. But he's probably realizing that the universe is at a point where they need these characters. And it only makes sense for the everyday person watching these movies and for the fans watching these movies to have all these characters under one shared universe. Now, Fox is not going to readily sell back the rights to Fantastic Four or X-Men, just like Sony's not going to readily, they weren't going to readily give back, Spider-Man. So what do? You work this kind of deal where it's like, well, we're split profits or whatever. You guys are having trouble coming up with good stories. We know these characters. There are characters. We're stepping. We're put the movies together. We'll do the stories. Maybe you give us some of the box office, and you guys can take some of the DVD sales. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Toys or something
or
like that.
Or toys there, yeah.
Because Fox, there's no X-Men toys. Being made at all right now.
No. I believe they had some action figures when the first X-Men movie came out, but since then, like, as far as like tie-in action figures, no.
Yeah, you go to any grocery store, like, it's all Marvel.
Yeah,
like Marvel.
Exactly. So it only would make sense for them to be like, well, they have a stronger penetration in this market. Like, people are going to go out and buy the Captain America toys when the movie comes out. People are going to go out and buy the I don't know if they did any yet, but if they did Doctor Strange, for instance, if they put out Doctor Strange toys, people are going to buy those because people are enjoying these movies. They did the Funko Pop did the tie-in with Civil War, where they had Civil War pops, and people went out and got them. Fans and even some of the average, just casual viewers aren't as, I don't want to say, I hate to use the word stupid, but they're not as naive. There we go. They're not as naive as they were when these superhero movies first started hitting real big, and now they're starting to notice stuff. It doesn't make sense for them to be like, well, Spider-Man was a Marvel movie, but Spider-Man sucked, but Captain America was awesome. Like, what's Marvel doing? People starting to know, it's like, yeah, that's not really a Marvel movie. It's not as fun as, Iron Man, or it's not as fun as Guardians of the Galaxy.
And
and it's. Well, I was just going to say that I think, especially with them using characters like Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, like characters that those studios wouldn't have even touched when they started buying properties from Marvel. To see them take those characters and make them as big as they are, now they're really like, you know what? That's like their D-list characters. We have A-list characters, and we still can't do what they're doing. We need to figure something out.
Right, exactly. And I was going to say, like, I forgot to put this in the show notes, but did you hear about the whole Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool thing? How they didn't have James Gunn, actually, when he wrote Guardians 2, he thought they had the rights to Igor, and then they found out that he actually didn't, that Marvel didn't have the rights. So Marvel and Fox actually talked, and they did a trade for Megasonic Teenage Warhead and Igor the Planet. Yeah, and no one knew about that. Like,
I had heard something about that. I had seen like a little bit of that in my news feed, but didn't really read it. I was wondering. I knew Negasonic Teenage Warhead had something to do with it, but I didn't know it was Eagle. Like, I wouldn't even have guessed that. Like, I would have thought they had. I thought they had a rights to it.
Exactly, same here. So that solidifies that they are definitely talking. Like, they're on somewhat of a path to good terms. Hopefully, you know what I mean.
I think they realize, like I say, I think Fox or those other well, it's really just Fox and Sony at this point that own properties from Marvel. Like, pretty much everything else has gone home. Daredevil obviously went home. Punisher went home. Ghost Rider went home. Like, pretty much everything. Blade went home.
Yeah, it's
So-
crazy because when one character goes home, there's at least 3 or 4 that are with that character. It
That go
seems
with
like,
him.
and we don't hear
Mhm.
about it.
And for people who this might be the first time they've heard this podcast, or might be the first time they've actually heard, this kind of discussion about like the movies. When a studio buys a property if they were to buy something from DC, even though DC is under Warner Brothers, but if for whatever reason they got in a position where they had to start selling characters to other movie companies, and somebody bought the rights to Batman. Every character that is under the Batman umbrella who first appeared in Batman, who is a known prime Batman villain, goes with them. Anything related goes with that character. So when they got the X-Men, the Shi'ar went with the X-Men. When they got the Fantastic Four, Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Squirrels, like that's how it happens. So that's why when you hear us talk about like how they switched characters and traded characters and they didn't have the rights to the character, that's why. It's because normally the character may have first appeared in somebody else's comic book, which technically makes them that character's part of that character's universe.
Yeah.
So it gets messy.
It's all kinds of messy.
All right. I think we've rambled on enough about that.
But back to Inhumans.
You think
I'm
that's
glad
a
it's
fair,
going to
a fair assumption?
I'm glad. I definitely think you're onto something. Yeah, and I fair assumption for sure. As far as the Inhumans being on a TV show, that's cool because I definitely want to see the Inhumans. My own concern is it with being on ABC.
Yeah.
In the budget.
Mine's too. When I first heard that, I was kind of like,
Yeah. So because I'm still a little behind on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they have an alright budget, but for Inhumans, like I feel like, especially Medusa's hair, that's like alone.
Well, that's the thing is that I'm behind on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too, but I've seen a few clips here and there, and seeing a little bit about the newer stuff they've been doing. And I think it was last season they actually officially introduced the Inhumans, or the idea of Inhumans.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the clips that they've been using Ghost Rider this season. And I don't know if I can say that I'll be worried about the budget. If this was like season 1, I might say I was worried about the budget. But seeing some of the stuff they've been able to do budget-wise, because their Ghost Rider was good.
Yeah, I did see the Ghost Rider episode.
I'm not into that Ghost Rider, but he looks good.
Yeah, I agree.
So
that's just one of my worries, and just to be on ABC and what kind of story they can tell.
Yeah.
So hopefully it works out. That's one of my biggest concerns. But I'm excited that the Inhumans are actually getting somewhere.
Me too.
I'd personally see it on film.
I was just gonna say. I was gonna say at one point they were gonna do an Inhumans movie, then they weren't gonna do it, then they were, then they weren't gonna do it, then they are gonna do it, and they got a date, and I was like, no, we're not gonna do it. We're gonna do a TV show. So it's good to see them get somewhere with it. I don't know if they would really focus on the royal family or not. You would kind of think they would, because when you think of Inhumans, you think of Medusa and Black Bolt and the royal family.
From what I remember hearing, I think it's supposed to be the royal family. Like they're gonna have Black Bolt and the whole family, from what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why my concerns with the budget, like, at least with Medusa and Black Bolt's abilities and whatnot. But we'll see how they pull it off. It's Marvel and TV, but I'm just a little worried about ABC.
Yeah, I have faith in Marvel.
What they'll allow them to do, really.
Yeah, I don't see them biting off something that they couldn't do. At this point, I don't see Marvel. They've kind of got a flow of how to do TV and how to do movies. Mm-hmm. So my trust is there.
ABC may just, like you're saying, they may just be like, do your thing, we trust you. Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started off a little rough for me. I actually didn't get into it until towards the end of halfway through season 2 was when I really started to like it. But I'm behind on a lot of those shows right now. I'm only caught up on. I'm not even caught up on Flash. I'm an episode behind on Flash and Legends.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit behind on that. I had to catch my girl up with season 1 of Supergirl. Like
Yeah,
she
I'm way behind on
put
that.
off. She put off watching it. I told her that it was probably something she would like, and she started watching it. She got hooked on it and wanted to marathon it, and said the same thing I said. Like it was good on what was it? It was on CBS
CBS,
originally.
yeah, originally.
She was like, it was cool on CBS, but it definitely shows like it would have been way better in the CW
That's what I hear from a lot
universe.
of people. Yeah. And I heard it's doing good
Yeah,
so
and I
far.
said that the whole time I watched the first season. I was like, this is good, but this would be much better if it was tied into CW, especially when you get to the how far are you in Supergirl?
I've watched the first season. So I haven't seen
All right.
the second season.
I haven't either. Okay, I was about to say because the first season, like you could definitely tell when it got to the crossover with the Flash, like that's when you're like, this would be better on
That's actually
CW.
the first episode I watched.
Was the crossover?
Yeah, 'cause
oh,
I hadn't
that's like
watched
one
it
of the
yet.
last few episodes too.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna watch that first, and then I'm gonna go back because that has nothing really to do with the storyline so much.
No,
So I was like, I'm
it's a
gonna go.
fun episode, but it
Yeah.
just makes you go like, this would be better. The scene, the way they interact and everything, you're like, this would be better on CW.
Oh yeah,
This would fit better in with the CW.
no doubt.
All right. Well, let's get to our next piece of news.
Yeah,
We've only made it to two pieces of news so far.
20 minutes in.
But the next piece of news is we got an update on Daredevil 2. As we know, the former director
Deadpool.
exited the movie. And
Deadpool
what was that?
2? Or Deadpool.
Yeah, that's what I said. Deadpool 2.
Oh, you said Daredevil.
Did I say Daredevil?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. Hey, hey. They're both guys in red and black costumes.
Hey, I'm just saving you from the comments about people yelling at you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I think he's talking about comic books. He confused Daredevil for a shot. But Deadpool 2, as we know, the director departed a few weeks ago, and it looks like we now have a replacement director, David Litch. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I believe I am.
I think you are.
David Litch is a writer, producer, stuntman, director. He's done a lot of stuff in Hollywood. He's got credits in Tron Legacy, the Matrix trilogy, and he actually made his directorial debut with John Wick. With a resume like that, I think this could probably be a pretty good fit. You know, he's got an idea of action movies, it seems.
Yeah,
and
let's
how
say
to,
from what I've heard of John Wick. Yeah, from what I've heard of like John Wick, it's a pretty action based movie. So yeah,
this could be good, especially if we're bringing like Cable and stuff into the second movie. If you're going to bring Cable in, I'm expecting a lot of action.
very true. Yeah.
So I think this could work.
And yeah, with Ryan's what's his last name? Ryan Reynolds.
You talking about?
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds' humor, and the guys who wrote the original one too. I think this will be a good fit. I'm not too familiar with his a lot of his stuff. I've only seen Tron Legacy, and I thought it was all right. But yeah, I still haven't seen John Wick. I know there's a second one coming out here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Hopefully, it's a good fit, and I have a feeling it'll probably be a different a look to it, but I'm fine with that as long as they bring their A game.
Bring their A game. I do want it to feel like a continuation. I want it to still have the same fun and humor. Like this whole debacle, I hope makes it into the movie because I know they said that. They said that Deadpool 2 was going to spoof the superhero sequel movies. So I'm hoping like they make a comment about that. Like, you even notice how you never had the same director for the sequel or something like that. Like,
I bet they will.
I think that would be fun. Or if he makes the comment how something is different, you blame it on the director. And then just give that fourth wall stare at the camera. But I would expect there to be a lot more action in the second movie. Obviously, I mean, they said they don't want a bigger budget, and they were restricted on their budget in the first one, and that's kind of what gave a lot of the best scenes. That's kind of what made a lot of the scenes good in the first Deadpool movie was the fact that They didn't have the budget for stuff, and we as fans didn't know that until later when they're doing interviews. And they're like, well, yeah, the reason why, we didn't have that big shootout in the end, he forgot his guns, was because we didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
That was awesome to write that into the movie like that, where it's like, oh, he forgot his guns, so we can't have a big massive shootout.
Yeah, that was great.
That's awesome.
That's something to go back and watch it again.
I thought that scene was already awesome when I saw the movie, but then when I heard the story behind it, I was like, oh, that's even better. That makes it even funnier to me.
Yeah, just
so
everything,
we can keep the same.
Everything that went into Deadpool, the first one was just all the good behind the scenes stuff, and then just the jokes and just the way they brought it was great. So I expect something different, but probably still to the same tone now and keeping it true.
Hopefully so.
Indeed. Cool. We do have some comic book news, and we got a few things actually. First from DC's website, they announced that Boom Studios, DC, and 20th Century Fox announced Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes crossover. And this is from DC's website. Boom Studios, DC, and 20th Century Fox Consumer Products are excited to bring together two celebrated pop culture properties in a historic comics crossover event when the Talking Simians of the Planet of the Apes meet the Emerald Crusaders of the Green Lantern Corps. And so it's going to be written by Robbie Thomas, who has wrote Silk, and Justin Jordan from Green Lantern Rebirth, I'm assuming, and illustrated by Barnaby Baginda, who did Omega Men. And so the Planet of the Apes Green Lanterns crossover event debuts February 1st of next year. And it's only going to be a 6-issue monthly limited series. So I definitely plan on reading that. I don't read much or really any Green Lantern at all. But this just sounds like a interesting crossover to do with Planet of the Apes. And I love when they do these weird little crossovers with Boom. So I definitely plan on checking that out.
Yeah, I personally, as I've said before, I think on the show, I like crossovers. I've actually, obviously as fans, we all have something that we collect, and one of the things that I collect are crossovers. And normally my crossovers are the old Marvel DC crossovers, because we're probably never going to see those again. At least not in our lifetime.
No.
But I've been finding it interesting when you see which companies cross over and who they choose to cross over, and this is actually a weird crossover for me. This is a three-way crossover essentially, because you got Boom's got their hands in it,
yep.
DC's got their hands in it, and 20th Century Fox has their hands in it. This is going to be interesting. I think I might have liked to see the Flash in this position. Just because of Gorilla Grodd.
Yeah.
He's got Gorilla Grodd,
really
so imagine if he'd been fighting Reverse Flash or somebody, and their Speed Force collides and it knocks him through a universe, and he pops up in Planet of the Apes.
Hey DC, there's your next pitch.
Yeah. I got you, DC. Call me.
No, yeah, I would definitely expect that. I'm not too familiar with Green Lantern, so I'm not sure if this would fit in any way in his in their history as the corpse. So, but yeah, should be interesting.
I'm semi, know a little bit about the the Lantern Corps and everything, but even then, I'm kind of I don't know if this would fit in, because in my mind, you got to somehow tie in some kind of time travel. Because even in the Planet of the Apes movie, well, that's even debatable if it was an alternate reality or not. And it depends on which Planet of the Apes are we talking about. Are we talking about the original? See, I can get into this kind of conversation. Because in the original, they went through a vortex, and it wasn't really clarified if it was an alternate version of Earth where these events happened, or if it was Earth. Everybody took it as it being Earth in the future.
That's what I
But
always
there's
thought.
still that argument you can make where it was an alternate Earth. More than likely it'll probably be the newer Planet of the Apes. that they've been that they're doing.
Yeah, with the movie
which could
coming
be
out.
fun. That could be fun. But even then, it seems like a time travel type thing, and it just seems something more up the alley of somebody like the Flash.
I agree. Yeah, I'm sure we'll definitely have to discuss that when it comes out.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But then, this is kind of cool. Image Comics announced that they'll be doing 25-cent issues in celebration of their 25th anniversary. And this is from their website. Image Comics Skybound is pleased to announce that The Walking Dead number 163 by Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard, Invincible number 133 by Robert Kirkman, Ryan Otley, and Nathan Fairbairn, and Outcast by Kirkman and Zedekiah, number 25, will all be 25-cent issues, and each one's going to start a new story arc for each of those 3 issues. So that's pretty cool. I was hoping it would be like all Image releases that month.
Yeah.
Would be 25 cents. I was like, oh yeah. But I think I might pick up Walking Dead just because I haven't read it in a while. Just to.
Same here.
Yeah.
I don't think I know I'm going to pick up that Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with Invincible or Outcast the comic. I started the show a while back and it was pretty cool. But yeah, I definitely want to pick up Walking Dead because I think it ends after the Whisper War, which is the arc that just ended. So yeah, definitely plan on picking that up.
Yeah, it's an interesting little thing to do for their anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
25-cent issues. I don't think any of us in our lifetime can remember comics being less than like $1 or something.
Nope, not
time. I mean, you see some of those old issues where they're like, yeah, this is 10 cents. Like, what was it? Action Comics number 1 was like 10 cents when it came out or something like that. It was like, man, let me get a time machine.
Right. And then now we got a couple things from Marvel. They finally announced more details on Daredevil. So he's going to be the main focus of the whole event of Running with the Devil. And it's going to be written by Charles Soule, Ron Garney, or I should say this is from the Marvel website. Charles Soule and Ron Garney have been setting traps for Matt Murdock all year in Daredevil without him noticing. And now they plan to spring those snares around Daredevil, no matter even more dire. I can't read today. Running with the Devil will be settling over the book, bringing Bullseye, Kingpin, and Elektra back into the Man Without Fear's life. So yeah, I did read the latest Daredevil, and I'm still not a fan of Charles Soule right now. But maybe I'm hoping this is a cooler story with everyone being involved. Because you have all the main hitters in this: Bullseye, Kingpin, and Elektra. So that goes way back. So I'm hoping that goes smoothly. But yeah, right now I'm still not feeling Daredevil. But yeah, this launches in February, so we still got time for Charles Soule to finish up whatever arcs he's going to be doing prior to then. But I'm probably going to fall off Daredevil, excuse me, until this comes out, just to see what they do with it. I'm going to try to pick up all the issues. I'm at least going to read the first one of each and go from there. Mm-hmm. Because it sounds like an interesting idea.
Well, maybe this is what everything's been building up to. Maybe it's been building up to these 3.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that can be like a slow burn. Sometimes that can be a slow burn. But you can have a good slow burn. You can have a bad slow burn.
Yeah.
And I've only read one issue, the one we reviewed of Daredevil. You've been reading Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And you don't seem too impressed. So for you, it's a bad burn.
Yeah.
But for all you know, this is the payoff.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope so. And then with Star Wars, they announced, this is from the Marvel.com website, Darth Maul, written by Colin Bunn and drawn by Luke Ross. The 5-issue Marvel Comics miniseries titled Star Wars Darth Maul is to debut in February. and it takes a look at the tattooed villain's younger days before his short-lived appearance in the 1999 prequel film, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I probably won't. I probably really don't plan on reading this. I was always a fan of Darth Maul, but he just wasn't in it enough for... And I don't know if I really want to see what happened to him prior to Episode 1.
I mean, it would be kind of interesting to get his backstory, because he was a cool character that had an unfortunate demise.
Cut in half.
Like, obviously, being a Sith Lord or a Sith Master, you would expect him to, have been killed and defeated. But for me, you introduce this great character. He's an iconic character. Like, not Vader iconic, but he was everywhere.
Everywhere.
When he died in the same movie he appeared, It's almost like Boba Fett in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Boba Fett was a great character, and they hyped him up and everything, and you really didn't get a lot out of Boba Fett, and it kind of made you mad, but he was iconic enough to the point where people still want to cosplay as Boba Fett to this day. I'll probably read this just to get that backstory, because I was always curious about the character. But for me, like, I would like to have seen more done with him. I would prefer something newer done with him. Like, if maybe we find out, we know in the Star Wars universe they have cloning technology. Maybe they cloned him and brought him back from one of the new, from one of the next couple Star Wars movies. That might be pretty awesome. But yeah, it's something.
Yeah, it's only a 5-issue miniseries, so you might be able to enjoy it, at least for since it's only 5 issues.
Yeah, with the Star Wars universe, is always fun and easy to kind of expand on it and go back in time. Because even look at the movies, like the next, the Rogue One, like that's a prequel. They're about to release Star Wars prequels now in movie form.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot you could do there. There's a lot of places to go with the story. The stories are wide enough open where you can insert things in between movies and in between battles and stuff that happen. So there's a lot of stuff. There's always been a lot of stuff in Star Wars you can do. So this could just be another interesting thing that they do.
Yep, and it'll be...
Like you said, 5 issues. No, that's not bad.
Yeah, and it'll be officially canon in this new universe. So
yeah,
that's good to know. But yeah, we're going to move on to the real reason why we're here, and probably why you're here if you're listening. We're going to move on to the comics. All
right, well, I will just say before we get into this is going to be an interesting discussion tonight. I just already know. But the first issue we're going to talk about is Suicide Squad number 6. I'm always iffy if I should just continue to call these Rebirth number 6, because they still have the Rebirth logo on them.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Going Sane Part 2. This picks right up after the last issue, where Harley was speaking about the capsule that Zod is in is making some kind of noise, and we ended with Rick Flag taking a shot at Amanda Waller, which in this issue turns out was blocked by Katana.
Which we guessed, by the way.
Yeah, we did guess. We guessed that they're not going to kill Waller. Katana's going to step in and take it out or something, and sure enough, she did. After that, a battle between Waller ensues, which is funny to actually see Amanda Waller actually take some kind of action, which is interesting to see because you never see Amanda Waller do anything really other than order people around. But while she's fighting Flag, the power goes out, and loss of power, for whatever reason, opens up some of the cells and releases Enchantress and Killer Croc. And it turns out that some of the other people in the facility, like some of the doctors and some of the other soldiers, and even Katana, who talks about her blade, is telling her to kill, start this all of a sudden erupting into this all-out brawl. Killer Croc tries to kill Enchantress. And the funniest thing for me in this issue is the fact that they figured that when they opened up the pod that Zod is in, for whatever reason, it's emitting this sound or this frequency that's causing people to go crazy. And it affects everybody except Harley Quinn. Instead of Harley Quinn going insane, she actually goes sane, which was hilarious to see her cut her hair, put her glasses on, grab her lab coat, and then start talking like a doctor, like, well, I have a hypothesis of what's going on here. And that's essentially the end of the issue. There's a backup story in the back of the issue where Amanda Waller is interviewing Killer Croc, and there's actually a little backstory to Killer Croc's childhood, which is I thought was really done effectively, where he was just a scared boy with a deformity who was bullied and abused, and then he befriended somebody, and one of the other kids went missing, and because of his heightened senses, he could sniff them out. And they find the boy, and the boy's dead. And then his other friend is attacked by an alligator, and he fights the alligator off, but it kills the girl. And he ends up covered in blood. And obviously, since he looks the way he looks, and the fact that the little girl left a note saying she was leaving with him, they automatically assume that he is a murderer and a monster. And at that point, that's when he decided to be exactly what everybody wants him to be. It's interesting to see that the story essentially says that Killer Croc is not as dumb as we all think he is. He plays dumb because it's just easy for him to do that because that's what people see. So it's easy for him to be what they want him to be instead of just actually be himself. Yeah. This was a really good issue. I thought it was kind of short. Probably with the insanity of the fight. Obviously, I thought it was hilarious to see Harley Quinn be affected in the opposite way that everyone else was. Like, it was funny to see her go from the psycho girl to I'm a doctor now, and I realize what's going on, and I'm going to help solve this issue. And it was really funny to see her cut her hair and put her glasses on. And I think that the backup story with Killer Croc, while it kind of comes out of nowhere, it's kind of good that they're adding more layers to the character of Killer Croc. And this story actually made me way more sympathetic to Killer Croc than I've ever probably been.
I would agree with you there.
What was your feedback on this issue?
I enjoyed the back issue more than this issue, with the main story. It felt like a Twilight Zone episode. I remember like Harley Quinn being able to hear whatever tune it was playing previously.
The last issue.
But then I feel like this is the one I felt like maybe I should have read the 4th issue with the whole Zod thing. Because this is essentially a new arc, but they're still touching on Zod is still affecting him, and he's still in the story arc. So it almost felt like this issue might have been rushed, and they could have maybe sprinkled throughout the story, like the whole people going crazy, like a little bit slower than like right off the bat. Like Rick Flag doesn't remember, what he did. I just felt like a confusing issue to me. And
I would have to see the next issue because I'm wondering, because they had a backup issue in the last in part 1 where they talked about Hack, and I'm wondering if maybe somehow they're going to do this for the next few issues, and the main story somehow relates to whatever member of the Suicide Squad is in the backup issue. Because this one had to do with like insanity and basically people turning into monsters and everything and just wanting to kill. And then we get a backup issue which explains why Killer Croc turned into a monster and puts on this perception of wanting to kill. The other issue, the first arc, the first part 1 of the story arc was more about them trying to use technology to break into this the capsule that Zod's in and everything. It was a little bit more kind of technical in there. And then that backup issue had to do with Hack, who's like a tech character. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that's what they're going to do. I'm wondering if the next issue is going to have to do with, I don't know, voices or something. It's going to be like a Katana backup issue, and it explains her sword and why she hears voices. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. I can see why you definitely thought this was rushed. I mean, there really wasn't much story in this. No. It was just this thing is making a noise. Everyone goes crazy and they fight the whole issue.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see why it would feel rushed. But as you said that, it just made me think like, well, maybe that's what they're doing because the last one had a backup story too. This one has a backup story that kind of relates to Killer Croc in the main story. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. It's just a theory, people.
Yeah, some of Deadshot's dialogue was a little funky to me. Like for some reason I understand why they shot Hack when she's walking into the cafeteria. But then, because the lights had went out at that point, and Deadshot's like, there's the electricity bill. Like, that's not the electricity bill. Like, they're using guns. They're not using power from the building. And then the inmates are, like, freaking out. And they're like, if you attempt to intervene or authorize, we'll blow your brains out. You know, that just kind of came out of nowhere. They could have just easily, shot her and snagged her out of there. I don't know. There's something off about this issue for me. I guess I didn't have enough stuff regarding the whole capsule and what's going on with that
and everything.
Yeah,
maybe that might come in the next issue because the next issue is Harley Quinn versus the Suicide Squad, and we have intellectual Harley now. Mm-hmm. So maybe she's going to be able to give us more backstory and explanation of what is going on with Zod's capsule. So we'll have to see. Let's put that to a test. See if the next issue has a backup story of Harley Quinn in it. That could, because obviously, if her versus the Suicide Squad, she's probably going to be the main focus of that next issue.
The next issue, yeah, I agree.
So if her being the main focus, maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe the backup story will be her. I don't really see too much more of what they could explain about Harley Quinn's backstory that they haven't already really explained. But you never know.
You never know. But yeah, I didn't have much for this issue, unfortunately. I wanted to like it. But I do love the backstory with Killer Croc, though. I echo everything pretty much that you said about the whole back issue. And I like the art more. I'm not a big fan of Jim Lee's art. I'm not like a big fan, but I just don't see what the hype is.
I'll say this. I did like the issue, even though, like you said, there's not really a whole lot to it. Really, the thing I liked about it was that moment with Harley Quinn at the end. Like, that really made the issue
I did
for
like
me.
that, yeah.
But I actually did enjoy the backup story better than the main story. I did enjoy the Crocodile Tear story better than the main story. And I like when you have a character like Killer Croc who's been around for a while. We've seen him in different incarnations and everything. But there's never been too much done to his backstory.
I agree.
And I think that they definitely made me feel a lot more sympathetic for the Killer Croc character.
Yeah, not to spoil the extended Suicide Squad extended cut for anyone. I haven't seen it personally, but I did hear about it, and I get they're pulling a lot, it seems, from the Rebirth series into the movie.
Oh.
And especially, I won't say with who, but I think once you watch it, I think you'll notice what I'm talking about.
Oh, well, now I got to see it this week.
Yeah. Cool. You got anything else for that?
No, that's all I got.
All right. Well, let's move on to Batman number 11. Continuing.
I'm excited about this one.
Nice. Continuing Tom King's I Am Suicide Squad Part 3. So previously, Batman had broken into, well, not necessarily broke into Santa Prisca, but he made himself get caught in order to break the Suicide Squad in. So now at this point, the Suicide Squad and him are in Santa Prisca, and Batman has a plan to have Bronze Tiger, capture, quote unquote, capture Punch and Julie to turn him over to Bane. That way, in order for him to, do whatever plan that they had, so that way Batman could, come out of nowhere and beat the shit out of Bane. But it doesn't go as planned for him, and pretty much Catwoman, she ruins the party by pretty much killing all three of them, Bronze Tiger, Julie, and Punch, before Bronze Tiger can make the deal with Bane. And the issue ends with Catwoman, wanting to get out of Santa Prisca and Gotham and, pretty much get out of the country, and she needs Bane's help. So she betrayed, I should say, Batman in order to try and get this out of Bane in hopes of him to get her out of the country, because since she's killed 237 people, she knows that once she gets back to Arkham Asylum, they're not going to keep her alive, and she knows that they're more than likely going to kill her. So she had a backup plan of her own. And that's where the issue ends, and the next issue is going to be called The Bat Breaks.
I thought that this was a good issue. It kind of picked up some of the slack we had the last issue, because when we had the issue with the fact that it was the whole last issue was basically that letter she was writing to Batman.
Mm-hmm. That letter's out the window now. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, at first I was a little shocked when she started killing everybody. But then I was kind of like trying to put myself in Batman's shoes. And we all know Batman's a planner and Batman's a thinker. And a lot of times things look like they're not going the way Batman planned. And then we find out that he indeed planned for that. I don't think he thought that she was going to kill them.
No.
But I think he did think she was going to betray them or try to betray them. So I kind of think that partially is part of his plan. He did seem a little surprised. And like I said, I think he was surprised because she actually killed them.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of Batman's plan, and I like the beginning of this issue also.
Same here.
Because it almost kind of touched on what I was saying about Catwoman as a character last week, where it kind of sort of shows like she kind of doesn't like being a villain, and Batman knows it, and he doesn't like her as a villain, and it kind of seemed like, this is one of the few times we see them in like an intimate situation, like an intimate conversation and all that, where, he realizes, like, yeah, if you go back, they're going to try to kill you and everything. I want you to more go back for me because, I uphold justice, and this is what I have to do. I have to take you back.
And he doesn't want to.
And he's even worried about her when she, when he says she breaks her ACL, tears her ACL jumping. And he's kind of like, you tore your ACL, and she's like, well, yeah, I tore it when I landed. And he's like, well, you shouldn't have jumped. And he's like, well, you didn't stop me. He's like, but I called for you.
I love the dialogue throughout that whole, pretty much the first, not first 2 pages, but that splash page of them jumping throughout the roofs and climbing and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like what the first, I think, 3 or 4 pages.
Yeah.
Features. Yeah, 3
and 4.
The interaction with him and Catwoman.
Yeah. And then he's like consoling her, like, because he's like, what am I? He's questioning. He's like, what am I? I can't. I'm in a tough spot. I can't not take you in. I don't want to. But then that last panel when he's like consoling her, he's like, what am I supposed to do? Or he says, Cat, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, damn. But yeah, you don't. And that was an intimate. I was just gonna say it was an intimate moment for both of them that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, it was an intimate moment, and that one panel that you're talking about where they embraced was like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the kind of dynamic you can have if you bring her into the fold, because you don't get it's like which we're going to get to this, but it's like when we see Batman and Damian and Superman and John interacting together, and it's weird seeing Batman and Superman in the position of fathers. It's weird seeing Batman in the suit in a position of somebody who cares about somebody. Not just like cares about like, Robin or someone he's training, but cares for somebody, who's not a part of the immediate Bat family.
Exactly.
And this is like a loving way. This is like, it's touching. This is really like that whole interaction leading to that panel is a touching thing. I was sold on that. When I saw that, I was like, see, somebody at DC heard me, and they was like, we need to change this issue real fast.
Yeah, the dialogue throughout that's great. She's like,
the dialogue
when Batman
was great.
He's like, you killed 237 people, Cat. I had to chase you. I killed 237 people, Bat. I had to run. Like, and it's kind of that same dialogue throughout the whole chase at the top. but then they like really break
where
down.
Where they're like cat and mouse in it, like
Yeah,
they say something
exactly.
to her, and then sure kind of like say the same thing a little different, like you just said, like you killed 237 people. Why'd you run? Well, I killed 237
Exactly.
people. I had to run. It's like,
Tom King killing it on the dialogue.
and then when she tears her ACL, and she's like, well, you might have told me. He's like, I shouted, and she's like, well, I didn't hear you. It's like, really?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so she's like, you were chasing me.
He's like, well, you didn't hear me because you were running, and she's like, yeah, because you were chasing me.
But yeah, then when he's like finally says that's enough, and he grabs her hand, and they're like, no, that whole it's like action up top, and then like the bottom is just like leading up to that last panel. It's fucking great.
Yeah, that was handled very, very well. It's unfortunate that she killed everybody at the end on the team.
Yeah.
This is what, like Batman and the ventriloquist are the only people left on the team now?
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
That was sad and unfortunate. Like I said, I'm hoping that Batman planned that she was going to betray them, but didn't think she was going to kill them. Like maybe she's like, I don't have anything left. Because in her mind, she's going back to Arkham after this is done. They're going to, kill her, put her to sleep or whatever. And maybe she's like, well, if I'm going to help them do this mission and I'm going to really sell this, I got to kill them. I'm already a known murderer, so this will solidify the Bane that I'm for real. And that, this isn't some kind of ruse that Batman put me up to.
Yeah. And speaking of ventriloquist Wesker, when they finally enter into near the pipeline, and Batman's telling her to this is where the pipe leads to Psycho Pirate. So take ventriloquist, and you see that panel of her with the finger and like the pretty much shit on her finger. She's just thinking to herself, I have to crawl through shit to do this. But then speaking of Wesker though, Batman's telling her protect ventriloquist at all cost. Some of us may get caught, some of us may get killed, but I guess without Wesker, no one gets out of there alive. So since he's still alive, Batman still has a chance, I think, of maybe. I have a theory that maybe ventriloquist will take down Psycho Pirate, and then Batman will have his way with Bane.
I think it's funny that you just said that, though, because I forgot that he made that comment that some of us may get captured, some of us may get killed. So maybe she's already assuming, like, Batman knows some people are going to die here. He knows we're not all making it out. So I need to sell this.
Sell it.
Since he knows we're not all going to make it out, he's not going to mind that much if I kill 3 people on the team to sell this. Yeah, I thought this was a good issue.
Yeah, and then you got Bane, not Bane, but Bronze Tiger
Marlon
punching
Brando.
Julie. Marlon Brando. You got Punch Julie and Bronze Tiger waiting outside, and Bronze Tiger is getting annoyed with them because they keep joking around, even though
I was getting annoyed with them.
Yeah, even though they're about to get their throats slit. Yeah, then that's where they enter. Oh yeah, then you have that splash page with Catwoman talking to Wesker and pretty much asking him, are you the same person without your without Scarface? And he's like, no, Scarface doesn't necessarily control me. I'm my own person. But then she plays him like a pet, and she's like, stay here, Wesker, as she goes to cat around and explore. And that's where Bronze Tiger is trying to make that deal with Bane. You see Batman just looking over him, but then Catwoman ruins everything and fucking drops that leash down around Bronze Tiger's neck. Whew, that was a brutal scene.
It was brutal when she stumped on his head.
Thumped on his head, then slit Julie's throat first, and then slit Punch's throat. So, whew. Any theories about Punch being Batman are definitely off the table now. And then Batman's just in the vent, no. He's like, damn it. Damn it,
Practically,
Selena.
he's like, I wanted you to do this, but I did not want you to kill.
Damn, she even exposes him, like, where he is, too. Like, he's right above us, guys.
Yeah, he's right over there.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't
See
show
the guy
him,
in
like,
the
point
back
him out. But Ventriloquist is still hanging around, so he's still alive, which will play a big part in what comes next.
Yeah, I want to see what his role is.
In that last panel of Catwoman talking to Bane with her bloody hands, almost trying to seduce
Trying to go
him.
break his back.
Yeah, in the next issue, the bat breaks. Man, Batman might have a breakdown after this. He's going through a lot right now.
Man,
Tim Drake, Catwoman, dead bodies.
I know. His almost his whole Suicide Squad taken out.
Victim Syndicate. Man, that sucks.
I bet he's in the vent like, man, I should have used the collars.
Yep.
They got the bat collars.
Should have got the bat collars. But yeah, she demolishes Bronze Tiger. He probably gets it the worst. Fucking heel to that skull. Man.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, she demolished Bronze Tiger because she choked him up first.
I don't see any blood around his head, though.
When she stumped it?
Yeah, like, because when she's walking away, you see Julie and Punch. They have blood coming out of them, but I don't see blood near Bronze Tiger's head. So maybe he's alive. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe she didn't. Maybe she stumped him with the front part of her shoe and not the heel.
Yeah.
And it didn't actually snap his neck. Maybe she just knocked him out.
That'll be crazy if this is all part of some crazy Batman plan. But there's no way he would have. Maybe it was part of the plan.
Killing two of the members.
Yeah, maybe it was like part of his plan, but he didn't want Catwoman to kill anyone.
And they just annoyed her that much that she's
Yeah.
like, I'm doing everybody a favor and kill these two.
But yeah, overall, good issue. I enjoyed it. I liked it more than the last issue. It's slowly, like I bring it up again, like the whole bi-weekly thing. This is definitely a good payoff for a bi-weekly book.
Yeah, this was a good issue. I know you had the issue with the last one. I really didn't, but I do think this is definitely an improvement on the last issue. And even if it was just for those first couple of pages with Batman and Catwoman, like even if it was just those first couple of pages, I love this issue. But the rest of the story to me was good too. Like everything had good elements all around.
Yeah,
and then it did throw me off at the end. Like at the end, I was kind of like, "What is she doing?"
Yeah, it was probably shocking to a lot of people. But
I would have expected her to actually like try to steal a boat or something and leave the island.
Something like that.
To jump in there, kill everybody, and then immediately tell Bane what the plan is, where Batman is, give me some money, and help me get out the country, and I'll help you.
Yeah.
That all did throw me off. Like, man,
she probably couldn't have got a boat because she probably would have been captured a lot easier. She probably needs it to be like super low key, under someone else's name, someone else's money, type of thing. But yeah, to go back to issue 10 though, now I'm wondering if that letter is after what she did
after this.
In this, yeah. I'm still not sure if it's prior to him catching her at the beginning of this issue, or if this was a letter about this. I wish I had it in front of me.
As of right now, I'm about to say, like, as of right now, I'm going to guess that it was about this, and that maybe either in the next issue, she betrays Bane, like maybe Bane's fighting Batman, and that's when she takes it as her chance to get away and leaves this note while she's slipping away. Because that's something Catwoman would do, is use distraction to cover her tail. Because she knows once Batman and Bane meet up, like that's going to be a fight. Nobody's going to be paying attention to what Selena Kyle is doing and where she's at. It's just the perfect time for her to slip out.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look at the 10th issue because I remember in the issue 10, I think she said originally in the letter she killed 237, so she would have said 240 in the letter after killing these three, if she killed Ron Steiger. But I think something tells me it's regarding the at the beginning of this issue, him catching her. Now that I think about it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Well, I guess that brings us to the next issue then, which is Superman number 11, which is picking up after 10, which was in the name of the Father. This is part 2, which is World's Smallest. And last issue ended with Damian Wayne and John Kent, Superboy and Robin, engaging in a fight that was broken up by their fathers, Batman and Superman. And it was announced that they were going to be going into boot camp. So this issue, we find out what boot camp is. And both of them wake up pretty much to their knowledge in the middle of nowhere, missing capes, missing their whole uniform, basically. And the goal that they have is they have 3 tests to pass, and during each test, they'll get back an article of their clothing. So they accomplish the first test, they get back their shields. So Robin gets back his R, Superboy gets back the zipper for his hoodie, and then the final test would end with them receiving their capes back. The goal of these tests are to get them to use teamwork, which is pretty much what we call it, is that, these were going to be exercises for them to learn how to work together. They fail miserably during the first couple of tests. The first one, they have, what's her name? Maya?
Maya, yep.
The first one, Maya, who was in the last issue, pops up to fight them, and Robin kind of cheats to get their shields back. And then the next, once they get those back, they get airplane tickets, and they have to make their way to the airport. And on the way there, they hop on a train, and that's when they encounter Goliath. Is that his name?
Yeah.
That was his name, right?
Yep.
Yes, Goliath. They encounter Goliath, who, for whatever reason, has had his feral side of his brain activated and is just in full monster mode. They obviously do defeat him and end up having to save his life. And then it is decided that Damian thinks that they should part ways, but that doesn't happen because they end up using Goliath instead of the plane to get back. There's a pretty good moment with them on Goliath's back as they're flying back where you can kind of see John being like his dad, like, well, this is for us to work together and we're going to have differences. Do you think, that the goal is for us to be, and Damian's like, friends? And he tells him, yeah, friends. You think we ever could be? And Damian's like, no.
No.
But at the same time, they're kind of in a position where you can kind of see they are kind of becoming friends a little bit.
Slowly but surely, yeah.
Yeah. And then the final test, once they get back, is for them to deal with a whirlwind that all of a sudden pops up and they have no idea why it's there. Turns out it's Superman causing it. They do eventually stop it, but they still don't like it. Well, Damian still doesn't like John. And Batman and Superman trying to figure out what exactly to do. So the decision is made to set up a false scenario where Batman and Superman have been captured by an experiment Batman was conducting, and it's up to the boys to save them. And this is the moment where they come together and do some great teamwork and actually defeat the monster. And then we find out, obviously that they staged it and that they're trying to get the kids to bond. And at the same time, Batman and Superman are trying to bond more as, they're essentially almost best friends. So they're trying to bond more. So they take the kids out to cut down a Christmas tree. They're going to cut down one for the Kents, and then Bruce Wayne needs a tree for some Christmas event that his company is going to throw. And in that moment, they feel like they're great fathers until it comes time to decide who gets what tree and who's cutting down what tree. And then the sons immediately start fighting again. And we end with another. I kind of hope for at least the next 2 issues, we end with the issue with either Batman or Superman or both of them giving that stare.
Yeah.
I think it's the awesome way to end the issues until the kids get along. I think like for at least 3-4 issues, it has to end with that stare, and then the final issue needs to end with the same thing, but with them like smiling in approval.
Yeah, that would be dope. Yeah, because that was a resemblance to the first issue.
Yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good issue.
Same.
It was definitely piggybacked off of and actually strengthened a little bit of what happened in the last issue. It didn't find the story deviated at all. It was interesting to even see, Superman kind of like, well, maybe we are making these things a little too tough for them. Maybe they're a little too realistic. Maybe we should dial it back some with what they get hurt. And Batman's like, nah, they can do it.
Nah,
they can take it. They'll be fine.
Yeah, this is boot camp.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that even through the issue, like you still see Damian being so much of a jerk, but you see John is still like you can really see whatever it is Superman or Clark has taught him is really sinking in, and he really takes this seriously. Like I know they always joke about Superman being the Blue Boy Scout, but John is trying so hard to live up to that, and he said stuff, and you're like, he sounds just like his dad. Like he sounds exactly like Clark. Like there's always a better way, and maybe if we take a second to think about it, and we need to work together on this, and it just sounds so much like Superman.
Yeah, and especially the part when you were saying how they were riding on Goliath, and John's trying to talk to him, like maybe we should be maybe we should try to work this out and be friends. And he was like, no. And there was another good moment of them together. Oh yeah, when he's feeding him, or John's like trying to give him the candy bar. He's like, "Are you hungry? We can split this." And he's like,
yeah.
Damian's like, "No." And then you see the panel of his like stomach growling. He's like, "Give me that."
Then he snatches it.
Yeah.
He was like, "Got this granola bar. You want to split it?" And he's like, "Nah, I don't want that."
So those are definitely
like you said, his stomach. He's like,
yeah, those are two definitely solid bonding moments between the two. Even though like Damian was still being a dick between both of them, but you can slowly see that like he's coming around to John being around.
And then it comes together at the end.
Yeah.
Like,
this is a great prequel to Super Sons.
Yeah, which was funny because, and they're trying to make the decision, like, do they really deserve to get their cape? Because the final thing for them to get back is their capes. And the capes are supposed to signify, like, they've passed boot camp and they are ready to actually start, taking on serious roles and serious things. And, Superman and Batman are both kind of like, I'm not really sure if they deserve the capes because, they didn't pass any of the actual tests. We had to make up a fourth test for them. I don't know if they deserve the capes. And I was like, no, they deserve the capes because, they are our Super Sons. And that's when we see this, which is a great panel of them standing there. And you got, it's funny because in that panel, if you don't even look at Alfred and you don't look at the shadows of Batman and Superman, the stance that Damian and John are taking are their father's stance. In that panel, they are their fathers. Like John looks so hopeful and like we can do anything, we can accomplish anything. And Damian just looks like I am justice. Like, he's got the Batman, I am the Knight stare going on.
Yeah, that scowl on his
face. That's
face.
an awesome panel with them together.
That is.
And then the interaction at the very end with the Christmas tree is great.
Yeah, when Damian's giving him shit, and John's like, well, guess what? I'm still taller than you. And then that's where the fight begins.
Yeah, he hit him with that. What was funny, though, was because at first I was like, okay, they got through that. They got the Super Sun speech. They got their, their shields back. They got their capes back. Now they're out doing some bonding. I was like, okay, we're going to see them starting to kind of warm up a little bit. And then it was almost right back to where they started off, where like you said, they're arguing over who's cutting down what tree. And
they warmed up.
John hits him with that one. I'm taller than you.
Yeah, they definitely warmed up because John lights a tree on fire.
Well, what was funny was as soon as he says, well, first of all, before I say this, when you see them in the panel, you know, Superman, well, Clark and John are dressed the same. Bruce and Damian are dressed in the same outfits. And, you know, you see Clark and you see Bruce sitting there talking about their sons, and they get into the argument, and they're just kind of like, cheers.
Yep,
like, they're just like, yeah, yep, cheers. And then once the fire comes out and, you know, the tree and stuff is burning, that's when they get the face.
Like, damn
and
it.
it's funny to see Superman do the face. Like, Superman's doing the Batman face. He's got the bat face going on.
Oh, shit. But yeah, when they finally team up, though, at the end for the staged...
great teamwork.
Yeah. And it's very subtle, too. Like, they're actually aren't trying to work together, but they're kind of just more looking out for each other.
But they do kind of end up working together because then, you know, because Damon's like, use the freeze breath.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what, and if you think about, you know, times Batman and Superman team up, that's what they end up doing. Like, you know, Batman will normally kind of analyze the situation as it's going on and be like, look, you know, you hit over here, then I'll go over here. And he's all right. That's exactly what this was.
Damien calculating
like,
everything.
They start off, like you said, kind of looking out for each other because they're trying to save their dads. But then, you know, Robin realizes, like, if we freeze them, this might work. Use your freeze breath.
Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah. And John's like, I forgot I have that power.
Yeah. He's like, oh, man, I forgot I could do that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, overall, great issue. I definitely liked 10 more, but this was like this is literally right under 10 for me. This is still a great issue, and the art is still a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, to me, this is a good continuation of what happened in 10. 10 was so awesome because it was the first time we were seeing all of these interactions. It was the first time we were seeing, you know, Batman and Superman interacting as two fathers. And first time we were seeing Damian and John interact, you know, as the sons, and seeing how they weren't going to get along. We knew it was headed here. We knew even before it got to the very end where it said, you know, boot camp, we knew that within the next issue or so, they was going to be doing something to try to get them to learn teamwork. So this wasn't a surprise that the next issue was boot camp and that they are, you know, learning teamwork. And it wasn't a surprise that they weren't going to get through the things. I thought that they were going to fail the first two and then get to the third one and figure out, okay, we need some teamwork. And then Damian would probably be like, well, maybe there is a little something to this teamwork thing. But he would still kind of have an attitude, but he would kind of be willing to admit, like,
still standoffish.
We kind of make a pretty good team. You're not too bad for an alien or something like that. That's something Damian would say. You're not too bad for a freaky alien. You know, but to see them fail all three of the missions,
especially
and then when I saw the monster at the end with the villain DNA, I was like, oh, it's a setup.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like you got the Blob, and then like he's different colors of like each. Like you got Killer Croc's colors, Mr. Freeze's colors, and then they even have like the faces of Joker, Croc, and Mr. Freeze like in the Blob or in the stomach of Clayface.
Well, before that, he talks about, like, he's like, so your dad just has like DNA of all these villains sitting on file and everything. And then all of a sudden, boom. You know, and then you see Superman like, are you sure we should be doing this? I think this might be too much for them. Batman, and he's like, nope, it's working. Just look. And then that's when you start seeing the teamwork.
Man, if you have it in front of you, that panel, I think it's page 17 for me digitally. When after they fall into the manure, after trying to take down the storm that Superman created, and you see Superman like hovering over him, like that is a classic Superman look right there. It
was a classic pose.
Yeah,
he's slowly like floating down out the sky.
But yeah, next. I wonder when is Super Sun's scheduled? Do you know? I can't remember.
I have no idea.
I know it's next year.
It's got to be the beginning of next year because I'm guessing this has probably got maybe 2 more issues to the arc, possibly.
Yeah,
I would guess this is going to be a 4-issue arc, leading right, like you said, in the Super Sons, which is what I was excited about in the first place
when I first heard the announcement and saw the first cover that they had out. But these first 10 and 11, Superman 10 and 11 have me even more excited for Super Sons than I was before.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because I was already really excited for it.
Yeah, this has me excited for that and Superman in general with Tomasi and Gleason on this.
Yeah, I like what they're doing. I think they finally found a way to make Superman relevant. Does that make any sense? So I know some people have issues with Superman because he seems unrelatable, because he's got all this power and everything, and they overlook a lot of stuff about Superman.
I don't see that at all in 10 or 11.
But that's what I'm saying. Now they took away our Superman that people had issues with, and then people took issues with the new Superman that they gave us. And people cry, we want the old Superman. So they bring back the old Superman, and they change him by giving him a kid. And by giving him a kid and making him a father and making him take that Paul Kent role, they found a way to make him more relatable.
Yeah, I was like, make him more human.
So now his Boy Scout ways, his, the way that he tries to look for the positive outlook on everything and, makes more sense because it's a father trying to instill that stuff into his child.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to show his child, like, don't be concerned with the way the world is. We can make the world better.
Yeah,
things can be better. Don't let these things get you down just because you're different. And it's interesting because what they've done with John Kent is awesome because they could have easily made John Kent like a Damian. Or they could have made him like the Superboy clone from the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that.
Where he was kind of rebellious. They could have just easily had him be the rebellious Superboy. But they've done something different by making him a kid who truly looks up to his father and takes everything his father is teaching him to heart and wants to try to put it into action. In a way, you can kind of say that about Damian, but Damian's just already had attitude coming into it.
Oh, yeah.
And his father is Batman, so...
He's already grumpy.
He's already grumpy. He does show shades every now and again that he thinks his dad is like one of the greatest dads in the world. But still, the way he came into it was already like, stacked for him to have this bad attitude. And John is just, there's been a few people that have worn the Superboy mantle. And even though he was rebellious and a lot of people didn't like him, I did like the 90s Superboy, the clone.
I never read any of that stuff, but I thought he looked cool.
He looked cool. That's what caught me at first. Was he looked cool with his leather jacket? I used to always want that leather jacket with the Superman S on the back.
I had the toy,
I mean, I'm still trying to get his series now to this day. But he was my favorite Superboy for the longest, and then they kind of changed him a little bit, which was cool. But I love John Kent as Superboy.
Yeah, I love this version now.
To me, the way they've done him and done the relationship with Superman, with his father and everything, is just so awesome. We don't see him, trying to hide his identity from Lois anymore. We finally have Lois and Clark together, married. And for the longest, they can't have a kid because, biologically and everything. And they found a way around that, and they gave us John. I really hope they don't do anything too crazy with John. I know they're talking about how he's got, essentially mutated DNA, but I'm really hoping that's not going to be something where they're going to be like, well, his mutated DNA only allows him to live for 20 years.
I don't see that with Gleason and Tomasi doing that, but if a new writer comes on sometime down the road, who knows what they'll do after Rebirth. Let's hope.
And that's what I mean. It's like we had a discussion about the Joker when they came into New 52, and we want the Joker more scarier, and he's scarier when he doesn't have Harley Quinn with him. So let's do all this. That was a cool Joker. It was a cool arc. Like I said before, I didn't like the way they did the thing with Harley Quinn and all that. But I mean, that was a cool Joker. If you want to make him scary, that was cool.
Good way to do it.
I think he could have been even more scarier if they both would have went that psycho nuts. If him and Harley, because then you got two crazy people
out there
who are just be over the edge of crazy, and they're in love in their own crazy psychotic way, and they're just out to cause massive mayhem. So I just hope they don't do that down the line. Like, I don't mind if down the line, they do somewhere it's like, okay, well, Superboy's going to join the Teen Titans, which means he's not going to really be with Superman anymore. Superman wants to let him spread his wings a little bit,
Go on his
and
own.
learn that full team. And you don't see that interaction as much. But I don't want them to be like, oh yeah, well, something happens and all of a sudden he becomes evil and he's evil Superboy and he's going to destroy everybody. And I don't want that. Now, if you're going to do an evil Superboy, you can do it. This dude like Lex cloned him or something. And,
like a little arc for it or something.
Do an arc where he's cloned, and it's not Bizarro Superboy. He could be just like John, but just evil. And that could work. Or they could bring back what's his name? Hell. He was one of the he was a surviving Kryptonian who came to Earth and just like wreaked havoc, and he hated the New 52 Superboy because he was a clone, and I forget, he called him something which meant like half breed, and was like, it was ridiculous.
Okay.
But you could bring him in, and he could be like, I let me filter out this Earth DNA that's in this Superboy and clone my own Kryptonian Superboy and teach him how he should be a Kryptonian, and then you could have like an evil version of John Kent.
John. Yeah, and we forgot to mention the whole interaction with Maya and John after they get off the train. Yeah, that was great. And she like gives him the zipper. I thought that was a good moment between them. Hopefully they don't turn John evil anytime soon, because there's definitely a relationship between Maya and John. I see a brewing.
Oh yeah, I've seen it brewing from the moment she bumped into him in the last issue. She was just giving him the eyes, and she's giving it to him here. Yep. And obviously he's probably a little oblivious to it. He's probably like, "Oh, she's being nice to me.
Thanks for the zipper. See you later."
Thanks for getting my zipper. But I think it would be interesting to see something like that happen, even if it didn't go anywhere. But just so he could have that interaction of like, oh, he's got his first, girlfriend or something.
Mm-hmm. Then Goliath showing up to cause havoc on the train. Oh, that was a good panel.
I thought it was a good little panel. The part where, after the granola bar, when they're curled up on Goliath, and they're like curled up right next to each other.
Yeah.
And that's when they're talking to each other about being friends and all that. I thought that was a good panel, and looking at it, and when I first started reading their dialogue, I thought it was going to go towards like, well, maybe one day we could be friends, but not today. But then he was like, no.
Not happening.
Nope, not going to happen.
But John's like, I know it's going to happen. Don't worry, buddy.
Yeah, that was funny because they both, sucked their teeth. They both was like, after it was said. But Damian's got that super
smile,
attitude Damian face, but John is smiling.
Yeah.
And he's so like he's trying not to cheese, but you see the smirk, and he's so like he's gonna be my friend one day.
I see it in him.
I see it. Dad told me about when he met Batman, like he didn't like him either.
Yeah, overall another solid issue for Superman for me, and I will continue. I'm wondering where what Frankenstein Lives is going to be all about. Because I think pretty much I'd say the prequel, the whole Super Son setup is over, and now it's on to the next story.
Yeah, the next one is the Frankenstein one. Like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar. We will definitely see though. Cool. Well, we can move on.
Yeah. I know we just gushed over that. If you heard when we did issue number 10 of Superman, we gushed over that one.
Yes, we did. Such good.
Oh,
such
man, it was
writing.
ridiculous.
But now we're going to move on to Kill or Be Killed, number 4, from Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Elizabeth Brutweiser. So we pick up with the story. Dylan is still going throughout his day, figuring out who his next kill is going to be for the month. So I'm just going to pretty much give a quick recap. And we catch up with Dylan and Kira have now been sleeping together lately without Mason behind Mason's back. And later, Dylan decides to try to find his next kill at a strip club. and he sees that, it's a pretty upscale strip club, and he kind of has a feeling that a lot of the strippers are from different countries across the world, because a lot of their accents our English accents are very thick, not thick, but not really working. But so he has a feeling that there's some sex trafficking going on, and he wants to figure out what's going on. And so he decides to try and free the dancers after the club is over by killing one of the bouncers who is leading all the strippers into the van. But as he kills him, the plan does not go as well for him, and things go to shit. So this is a fun issue. He's got his red mask, and the opening panel, I thought, when he's on the train and he's killing these two guys who are like harassing the old lady, I thought it was really funny, because he was throughout the dialogues like kind of talking about like how this wouldn't, because he right off the bat he says that it is a fantasy sequence, and he's kind of just making fun of like TV and movie tropes, how like there's really no way that someone could commit a crime or kill someone on a train and get away easily, because the next stop is going to be 20 minutes away, so there's really no way to escape. And he's like making fun of the fact that one of the guys has like a green mohawk, and he's like, what is this typecasting bullshit? And then the other guy is black, and he's like, man, that's just racist, because if you go back and watch a lot of those like 70s and 80s action movies, it's usually a punk and a black person, they both get shot. So it's like very typical back in the day. But he wakes up from his fantasy sequence, and that's when he's making his way throughout his day. He's making his way throughout the city and whatnot. We find out that he's behind on his schoolwork, because he's trying to live this double life, and it's, starting to catch up to him. And then he's like, speaking of bad ideas, this is when we find out that him and Kara, that's when we find out that they've been sleeping together on the low, and, he's trying to convince Kira to, break up with him. And she's like, she's having a hard way of like trying to figure out how to break up with him. But we move on, and, he's really trying to figure out, like, he's realizing it's really hard to find, your next killer. You just can't be there at the moment. It's not like a movie, as he mentions earlier, and it's, just not that easy. So he decides to go to Central Park to, try to look at some drug dealers, and he's like, man, that's racist, I'm not going to do that. And he's talking about trying to find, a cop who's committing a crime. And he's like, I can't, keep looking out or keep watching a cop all the time, waiting for them to, and this is a play on what's going on today. Not play, but, kind of mentioning what's going on today in the world, how, he can't be around every time a cop shoots a black person. So there's a lot of social commentary in this issue so far, I think. But he's now made his way to the strip club. He's getting a lap dance on. So he plans to, he's been like scoping out after the club closes, and how they load up all the women, onto the van at the end of the night to take them off. So he comes back, later that night. He finally has his, red ski mask, and he's ready to, try to cause some damage to this guy, and, make it his next kill for the month. So he does shoot the guy, and throughout this, like, you feel the anxiety that he's going through, like, as he's shooting the guy, because the bouncer is, like, pulling out his gun, and he wasn't expecting that. So he's like, oh, fuck, I was not expecting this. But he shoots the bouncer, and he's like, cool, I did my deed, now I can head out. But he opens the van to free the girls, and out of nowhere, one of the dancers, starts beating the shit out of him. And he actually shoots her in a panic, and runs off. And then once he gets back to the house later, Mason and Kira, they're waiting for him. Because Mason kind of had a feeling that they had been sleeping together. But luckily, since he came back, all bruised up, and bloody, because he got the shit kicked out of him, he decides to play the self-destructive card and breaks down in front of him to try to play off the fact that one, Kira and him have been sleeping together, and two, he just killed two people. But the issue then ends with Kira talking to him while they're in the room, and the issue just ends with her saying, "Listen, we need to talk." But on that last panel is a pretty big thing because it's one of his dad's magazines, and it has the demon on the back of that magazine. So yeah, this was a pretty packed issue. What were your thoughts?
Well, obviously, thanks to you, I've been reading this series, Kill or Be Killed, and this was an interesting issue. Like you said, it was packed. There was a lot of social commentary stuff. Whether it be the thing about the drug dealers, because he did talk about stereotyping drug dealers.
Yeah, in the park.
And the fact that if he took one, he's like, if I take one of them out, they're just like a small cog in the wheels, like not really doing anything. And he wants any kill he does to actually have a greater cause behind it.
Yeah, because of the whole, since he killed the last guy, it led to a prostitution ring or child molestation ring being busted. So it was on a wider scale. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same thing here where he figures, if he kills the bouncer, these girls, I think he thought they were all like Russian, I think it was. And he was like, this will give them a chance to be free because they ship them directly from the club to whatever the apartment they have them held up at. Like they don't do anything outside of the club. They just club, home. And when he meets with the one stripper, she does kind of hint at the fact that maybe there is something else going on deeper with the club, like what he thinks might be correct, because she talks about, if we go to the upstairs to the other room, then he can actually like touch her and stuff. And then when he solicits her, she's kind of like, oh no, we don't do that here. She kind of makes that comment like, if you come back to our place or whatever,
it's the hotel, or whatever.
And then when you add that with the fact that there's a guy always escorting them places, it kind of seems like it maybe is also a prostitution, a sex ring, pretty much. I think his inner monologue, the whole issue was interesting, especially when he's breaking down how he's researching how to essentially see who in a crowd could possibly be a criminal. Yeah, and then the whole thing going on with Kira, and I was kind of surprised that they jumped into this issue with them sleeping together.
Yeah, because he was like, speaking of bad ideas. Bam!
Yeah,
this is one of them.
Which was which I knew going in because of the last issue and everything. You warned me and everything, but I wasn't ready for some of what I saw there.
Yeah,
because let's just say Kira does not believe in a razor.
No, she does not.
No, she does not.
No, she does not.
But overall, this was an interesting issue, especially like you said when it got to the end, because we got to the end, and obviously he's saying because of that breakdown he had, their little side thing is over, and she's probably not going to tell that they were sleeping together, which is funny because when he left early and his friend stopped him, was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm just going out," and he immediately got on the phone. I was right there. I was like, he knows that they've been together, and he's calling to see if he's headed over there.
Yeah.
But excuse me. That last panel when she's looking through his dad's artwork and everything, and like you said, the demon is on there, and you see the other female demons dancing around the fire and everything, and it kind of made me wonder if. Because you said the whole thing is he doesn't know if this, we don't know as a reader if this demon is supposed to be real or in his head. And the fact that this is stuff that came from his dad, at least this book has to do with a lot of demons, even though she's talked about, some of the other stuff being kind of, crazy looking and being weird. It's interesting to see that this might be affecting his psyche.
Yeah, and it's
interesting to see that it may be something that goes back to his childhood. Like maybe somehow his dad, maybe his dad introduced him to this stuff at an age when his mind wasn't ready for it, and maybe a split personality fractured off and was hidden until he had that life-threatening incident, life or death incident, and it triggered that alternate personality. So maybe it's not really a demon. Maybe this is in his head. Maybe it's a completely different personality.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we still haven't heard, or we still haven't seen any backstory on his dad yet. They've talked about him. We've seen his mom, but is that we know his dad has passed. But yeah, we haven't had any much of a backstory regarding him yet, and that the fact that his dad wrote these books, I think hopefully now we're about to get into a little bit of story with that. Yeah,
that depending on how the dad worked on these books or presented it to him when he was younger, I think this could have affected him. His dad was constantly doing lots of work that had to do with, demons and making deals with them. And maybe he actually has a story that involved what he's going through where, the dude almost dies, makes this deal and has to kill people. And for whatever reason, it's stuck in his psyche and it's come back and manifested it now as another personality. So, this is really like, you don't know what's going on. They said this is the end of the first arc, but you don't have any kind of real closure with it.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that until
it raises
later.
Way more questions than it answers.
Yeah, I don't think it returns until January. Now that I now that I think about it, I think I remember seeing something about that. But yeah, I had mentioned earlier like the anxiety that he was going through when he was about to kill that bouncer, like just his like monologue over it. You actually feel like you're there with him because he's like, fuck. I did not expect him to, he's not even scared and he's like pulling out a gun.
Yeah, he's not scared. He's pulling a gun out.
Yeah, and he
what do I do? I wasn't
him.
expecting this.
Yeah. So yeah, he finally shoots him, and then I did not expect the woman to jump out of the van and start beating him.
No, that threw me off too when she dove out. I was expecting them to be scared to get out the van.
Yeah.
But she jumped out and started, and even when she started beating him, I was still like, she smacked him or whatever, and then you saw his face. I was like, nah, she was really beating him up because his face was like, he looked like Rocky at the end of the first Rocky movie.
Straight up, yeah. But yeah, then he accidentally, just nervously just shoots her. It's like, fuck. Because the cops are like right around the corner and you see him like walking away walking down the street as the cops are going around. But yeah, questions. Yeah, and him killing him and getting his ass whooped definitely saved them from being caught, him and Kira being caught. But yeah, now it opens the questions of if this demon is actually in his head or real. Something tells me it's not real at this point with the book. And he's all been like reading it, since he's been reading it since a child, it's just ingrained into him, and he's acting as if he's in the book.
I think that's what it's going to end up being. I think when it's all said and done, the demon he's talking about is a metaphorical demon, and I think it's really just the way his psyche has processed growing up reading the stuff his dad wrote.
Because, that would make sense too with the previous issue and Kira and her mom issue when she had like 4 husbands, and Dylan's dad, wrote, super erotic, like sci-fi type of stuff. I'm wondering how this is all going to play out. Like if any of this is real at this point.
Yeah, like how much of this is even real? Like, who knows? It was still interesting, though. It was just definitely interesting. I don't feel like it fell off from the last issue that I read.
No, not at all.
Definitely, like I said, more questions raised than answers.
I think my favorite panel from this issue is probably when I think he's trying to get a cab. Or maybe that was the previous issue. Yeah, that was. Oh no, he's walking down the street, and he's trying to wave down
Unless
that
someone
cab.
is walking down the street.
Yeah, that was a great panel. The art and the colors on this book are just so good. It's got that realistic, like all that snow has like that realistic feel to it. But yeah, I love this book. And I love the fact that they're like mixing supernatural elements with like the whole vigilante thing. Like, it's a good mix. Good mix of things. And then they
it's definitely a good book. I'm glad you suggested this one to me because this is one that I probably would have saw in the stores and be like, yeah, the artwork and the cover looks pretty interesting, but I'm probably not going to read that.
Yeah, once you get into the story, it's like, oh, okay, mystery. But I love how they replicate the cover in that panel when he's breaking down and hugging Kira.
Yeah. That's something that you don't always see.
No,
a story accurate cover.
Especially with Marvel and DC.
So many times we are tricked into getting a book because that cover looks so awesome, and we want that to be in the book somewhere. Then it has nothing to do with anything that happens in the story.
Yeah, and I feel like one of these books might have felt that way. I think it was maybe All New Wolverine that maybe threw me off.
It threw me off a little bit. That specific event is not in the book, but something similar to it is, and I kind of see why they did the cover that way. But we will get there in a sec.
Oh, yes, we will. We can go ahead and segue into that if you want.
Okay, well, up next we have All New Wolverine number 14, Enemy of the State 2. This picks up from the last issue where Laura and Gabby went out to one of Logan's cabins in the middle of California, like in the wilderness somewhere. And the local town was doused with her trigger scent. And as a result, obviously, if you know anything, she's killed the whole town. In this issue, it picks up with a jet landing, and the jet is filled with S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and Nick Fury is there. And they see that the whole town appears dead, and they see Laura sitting there, and they realize that she's killed everybody in the town. A couple of the agents are a little overzealous and decide to beat Laura up a little bit, which, if she just killed the whole town, I'm not sure that was the smartest thing to do.
No.
Fury obviously reprimands him, and then Laura's trying to tell her that, someone made her do it. And she said that there was 3 planes, so that leaves Nick Fury to call in and see if they have any jets in the area, which they do. And those jets actually see the 3 planes that she was talking about, the fire solution for the forest fires. And he tells them to follow them. And while they're following them, a even larger, almost helicarrier size ship comes out of nowhere, and the plane's parking there. And Fury immediately tells them to follow them and stop them before they reach international waters. And then they obviously do not, because the planes get shot down. The main helicarrier ship flies off, and they find out that the ship went to Madripoor. And Fury realizes there's nothing they can do now but went to Madripoor, because Madripoor is a sovereign nation, and if they even go there to start anything, it's going to be considered war.
Yep.
Laura does not appreciate this, so she pops her foot claws, cuts the handcuffs, which is where the cover came into play with Wolverine in handcuffs, and then actually threatens to shoot the dude who's been beating up on her the whole time. And he's like, well, if you shoot me, the doors are going to blow open and pressure's going to lose and we're all flying out. She's like, well, that's fine with me. And
I'm ready.
Yeah. So she actually blows the door, flies out the airplane, and makes it back to Gabby. And, Gabby's like, where have you been? And she's trying to tell her, we have to go now. I got to find somewhere for you to go. No, she tells Gabby she has to stay there. She says, Gabby, you're going to stay here. And she tries to explain it to her. And she's like, well, we're sisters. So wherever you go, I'm going to go. And it sounds like what you're saying, you're going to need help. And so it turns out that they can't hop on an airplane because, obviously S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to have all the airports shut down. They can't hop on the road and drive anywhere because they're going to have roadblocks and stuff everywhere. So they hop on a boat and they go to an internet cafe, and she reaches out to someone who can help. Now she's kind of got a thing going on with the new Angel a little bit, kind of. And so they say, well, are we gonna call your boyfriend? And she's like, no, we're not gonna call Warren. And so they start talking about, there's a bunch of people they could call. So she actually calls a pirate that she actually had a run-in with before, which is a funny moment with Gabby finding out that they're going on a pirate ship. And in the end, we go to Madripoor, and it turns out that they have found out that Wolverine escaped, and the mystery villain is not surprised and knows she's escaped and knows she's going to be coming there. And she tells her, she asks Belladonna, not Belladonna, Belena, if she's ready to face her sister, and she says she's ready. And that's the end of the issue. Belena, if I remember, is the third clone that went missing.
Yeah,
because there were 3 clones. Gabby was one. I can't remember the other one. The other one died though, and then one went missing, which was Belena.
Yeah.
It's obvious that she's with I can't remember her handler's name, but it was the lady. Well, she talked about in the last issue. She's the one that actually finished and completed X-23's training, and was the one who trained her with the scent and everything on how to kill, and was the one who made her try to kill her family. Well, try to kill her cousin and her aunt, and made her kill her master. So it's kind of interesting to see that this is kind of sort of coming full circle in a way.
Yeah.
Where
what issue
she's meeting back. She's going to get some kind of closure with the clone that was missing, and then hopefully by the end of this, she'll have closure with the only person she actually fears, and that's that's what I'm hoping happens. I think that she needs to die at the end of this. Laura needs to be able to kill her so that she doesn't have that kind of fear hanging over her. I'm also hoping that she's maybe the only person left that knows what the ingredients are for the trigger scent, because I hate the fact that Laura, just like Laura hates it, I hate the fact that she's always got this one thing hanging over her head that can just make her completely lose it and just like kill anybody for. So I'm hoping that both of those are rectified by the end of this.
No, I agree. And was it issue 13 that we got that background of her being trained? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I couldn't remember if it was 12 or 13.
It was 13. As I said, 13 was like an issue that anybody who doesn't know the character could pick up because it has so much backstory in it. You can get a quick update on all the key things you need to know in issue 13 of All New Wolverine. And there's just like the Superman 11 that we did a little while ago. This is good at piggybacking and building on what happened in the last issue, because it picks up right there. We get Shield involved. Shield leads us to find out that something's going on with Madripoor, and it gives Laura that determination, like, I gotta go to Madripoor. If anybody knows anything about Marvel, especially when it comes to like the X-Men universe and specifically with Wolverine, then you know a little bit about Madripoor, and like that is a lawless place that pretty much villains congregate at, and it's his own country, so it's a country that's pretty much a safe haven for villains to go to. So I could see her probably ended up there with the outfit on.
Yeah. And
probably some past, Logan Wolverine villains will be there and just see the outfit and be like, oh, you look like somebody I know.
Mm. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed this issue.
Yeah.
One of the things, a little nitpick, but I kind of wish we would have saw Laurel, kill 1 or 2 people just to give it that more of an impact of her being caught, because the issue ended with her raging out. They just had that panel by herself, but then it opens up with this one with all the dead bodies around there. I would have liked to seen her cause a little bit of damage. I think excuse me. I think it would have had more of a impact on the story overall. But that's just a little nitpick, and I can get past that. But yeah, like you were saying, Bennett, who had smacked her with the gun. As she's she's on her knees, and even like the other Shield agents, like, you really think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
But yeah, Bennett gave her shit the whole time, and he finally gets his when she's on the plane, and kicks the shit out of him.
Real fast. Mm-hmm. I want to piggyback off of something you just said.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you wish you would have seen her do something, like actually seen her kill a couple of people in the town. I actually think it's a little stronger not showing it for her. And the reason why is because essentially we're following Laura. We're seeing pretty much what Laura sees. And we know that when she smells that trigger scent, she blacks out and doesn't know what happened. And when she comes back around, then she just sees mayhem around her.
That's a good point.
That panel of her with the bodies picks up from the beginning of the last issue. Remember, the beginning of the last issue was her on her knees surrounded by the dead people. And then it flashed back to show us how she got there.
That's right. Yeah. No, you got a good point there now. Yeah.
Yeah, if this would have been any other character, like if this would have been like regular Logan Wolverine, I'd have been like, yeah, they need to show him snap, go out berserk, and just kill people and everything.
Laura's a little different.
But with Laura, it for me, it makes it a little bit more emotional not seeing it just because she doesn't know what she's doing. So we don't know what she's doing. But just like she did, because remember I told you when we read the last issue, when I saw the plane start dropping the gas, I was doing the same thing that she was doing. I was like, that's the trigger scent. And her face was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And that's as a reader who likes this character and knows, likes following her, I was in the same spot she was in when I saw the gas because I was like, oh no, if they don't get out of there, she's going to kill everybody. And then she blacks out, kills everybody, and then when she comes back, I'm with her like,
damn,
man, that's messed up. Yeah, that's messed up. Like, man. So I think when it comes to the trigger scent, we shouldn't see what she does unless like maybe there were cameras somewhere and they go back and watch the footage and then we can see what she does. But as far as following it from her aspect and her point of view, I don't think we should see what she does when she goes under the trigger scent.
No, you changed my mind. It makes a good point. I was wondering how she landed though after she jumped out of the plane.
Yeah, because she was like, looked like she was gonna land on her back. Like,
yeah, and they're pretty far up, and they don't show her how she lands.
They don't. I mean, for all we know, she could have landed in some trees or something or whatever. But
True.
we know that essentially, she is exactly like Wolverine, skeleton, healing factor, and all.
Yeah. And
we've seen Wolverine survive way worse than that. So I guess knowing that, you're just supposed to be like, Wolverine can do it, she can do it.
Exactly. But yeah, I loved Gabby and her together. Then when she finally met, before they left in the cabin, Laura was trying to like tell her like, you can't come with me at this point, and Gabby's like, I'm you, so I'm stubborn as you, so I'm not leaving here without, or you're not leaving here without me. I thought that was great.
She starts grabbing her stuff.
Yep.
She's saying all that, grabbing her stuff, like, I'm stubborn like you, put her bag on, like, so wherever you go, I'm going. And she's at the door, like, you ready?
And she
what's the plan?
Yeah, when Laura walks in, she's like, even though the mannequin, isn't real, it still has feelings and it wonders about you, Laurel. I thought that was good.
I like that, and I like the interaction when they got on the ship.
Yeah.
And she's like, so this is a real pirate ship? He's like, yeah. He's like, so can I say R? She's like, if you want to, I guess.
And then he
starts talking about like cutting her leg off and getting the pain.
The wooden leg.
You can't cut your leg off.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but I have a healing factor and don't feel pain. He's like, you still can't cut your leg off.
Yeah, that was some great exchange. And then they finally meet. What was her name again? Mogi? But yeah, when she finally meets her and she has like the eye patch, she's like, oh, this is a pirate ship. This is what you meant.
Yeah, she's like, because she literally has an eye patch. And then they had a little mini conversation, and then she's like, oh, I like her. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's Gabby just throwing out all these jokes and everything. She's like, oh, I like her.
But yeah, I do hope the next issue picks up just a little bit now that she's making her way to Madripoor. Yeah, so I do hope things pick up a little bit there, so we get a little bit more action. I do want to see, obviously, X-23 and Gabby get into a little scuffle with these two. I think we'll probably see Gabby get into it first before Laurel.
Oh yeah, we probably will, because she's going to be like, you disappeared and abandoned me.
Yeah, because I haven't seen.
So she's going to be upset.
Then.
She's going to be upset with that. Plus the fact that Belena is with essentially the enemy. Like, to all of them, she should be the enemy. That's part of how Gabby's going to look at it. Like, to all of us, she should be the enemy. If you should be with anybody, you should be with us, because we're basically family.
Yeah, and maybe it'll turn the other clone good, but I don't see it ending that way.
I don't see it ending that way either. It's only going to end one of two ways. Either she's going to be killed, or she's going to disappear yet again to pop up later on as another X-23, as a Wolverine villain later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Sad to say it like that, I think maybe having, 3 clones together is too much.
A little too much, maybe.
In a way. Because, technically, X-23 is a clone.
Or you're right. They might just keep her around for later, but I think hopefully there should be a bigger, what's the word I'm looking for? A big ending, I guess, to this story arc.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
I told you my big ending would be for the handler to die, and for them to, for now at least, make it seem like, I would love for them not to make it seem like to actually do it, but to eliminate this whole trigger scent.
Yeah,
like I think
I agree.
Eliminate the trigger scent.
Get that.
I think it was a good idea when they first create the character. I do think for a story like this, it makes a very compelling element of the story. But I think it's something that they need to get rid of now.
Kind of squash.
Because you just need to get rid of this right now.
How long? Because I'm not too familiar with how long the trigger scent's been around. How long?
Since X-23 has been around.
Okay.
X-23 has been around now for a few years now. That trigger scent has been around since she's been around.
Okay.
It wasn't something that they developed later on down the line, like after a year or two, of her being here. And they like, let's make up a backstory. No, the trigger scent was there.
Okay. So yeah, I agree then at this point, yeah, since it has been around this long, don't have it hanging over her head anymore, and let's just get rid of it.
Yeah, that's what I would like to happen. But overall, I thought this was a solid issue. Like I said, I think it definitely built up on the elements laid down in the last issue. And I think it definitely did help the story take a step. There was no action, technically, except for the airplane scene in this one. But then again, there was no action in the issue before that, except for when they slashed a lady's tire. And that was really it. So I do think, I don't know how many issues is supposed to be in this arc, but I would say if there's going to be, let's just guesstimate and say there's going to be two more issues.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 or 3.
Let's guesstimate that. At least 2.5 of those issues need to be action.
Yeah.
Like there should be maybe a part probably in the last issue where they stop and she's explaining why she's doing all the the classic villain thing when she's got to say why she's doing it and give us the update on what's going on for everything and what happened to Belena and all that. But other than that, I think the next 2 to 2.5 issues need to have action.
Yeah, and then once the
especially if they're going to Matterport, they're going there. There needs to be action there because you have all those criminals from all over the world. You have so many people who know of Logan and who probably know that she took his place and that he died and all that stuff. So, there's something crazy needs to happen when they get there.
I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you. But yeah, I think one of the last things that's with Gabby and Cap Ash and Laurel, when Cap Ash is like, X-23 actually took out my eye. And Gabby's like, well, This is awkward.
Yep, this is awkward.
I love the way they write Gabby. It's pretty on point. But yeah, that was All New X-Men, or no, All New Wolverine, excuse me. Number 14. But we can move on to our last book of the evening. This is a book, we haven't really done a random pickup book lately. So I had suggested Aliens, Life and Death, number 3. So it's in the middle of a story arc, and we decided to just go ahead and jump on in it and see how it goes. But yeah, this is Aliens, Life and Death number 3. I guess it's part of a 17-issue series, but this is just like a break-off of the storyline. The guest one was Prometheus. That started off everything, and now we're getting to Aliens, Life and Death. But so yeah, we jump right in, and pretty much it seems that they are going. The team is making their way to the alien hive to rescue Chris, who is actually trapped in the hive because she had set up a rescue mission to go back and rescue one of the people who got left on the planet and in the hive. And so it picks up, she's about to get her, face bitten off by, I believe it could be the queen alien. But right before they kill her, they back off. And this is where Chris finds out that she is actually hosting, one of the alien babies. So she reports back to her team to tell them to, back off, don't come for me. At this point I'm screwed because, the alien is in me. But her team is, not having it, and they want to go after her because her girlfriend is on the planet with them, there to rescue him. So she's trying to, talk Chris out of it and tell him, where she is. And then we pick up with, his name, what was his name? Galgo. And Galgo is, I believe one of the guys who was left on the planet as well. And he has a predator companion that goes by the name of Ahab, or I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong. But they find the ship that the crew landed on the planet, and they're debating if they should just take the ship and leave all the other crew behind. But right before they can get to the plane, you see a Prometheus. I guess that's what you would call it.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to, you could.
For now, I guess we'll call it Prometheus. But anyone can please correct us if we are wrong, because I would like to know if I am pronouncing it wrong or whatever the case may be. But anyways, the Prometheus blows up their ship, so they have no getaway at this point. And then we catch back up with Chris in the hive, and she finds the person that she was looking for to rescue him, but he has now been entwined into the wall of the alien hive, and she's trying to rescue him, but then out of his stomach bursts a deformed and malformed alien. So then she then realizes that whatever toxic waste that landed that spilt out onto the planet has destroyed the chances of the Mother Queen being able to have any more alien babies. So at this point now she's realizing that she is carrying the only living and healthy alien baby inside of her. And so there she tells the team, at any cost, this alien is now going to protect me, and it's probably going to kill you. But she's able to save the team, even though a couple people get demolished and ripped in half by a couple of the aliens. But Chris finds a grenade, or pulls out a grenade from her backpack, and she's threatening the alien to blow up everything if the Mother Queen doesn't call off the raid that's happening against her crew. But yeah, so the aliens disperse and disappear, and out of nowhere, they're about to make their way to the hive, and some kind of explosion happens. And then that's when the Prometheus is walking up to them with 2 guns. But yeah, again, we jumped right into this and decided to, not knowing anything about this story, even though I was very tempted to read the first 2 issues because I was intrigued about this book, but I was like, no, I'll wait until after. But yeah, overall, jumping right into it, I enjoyed it. I felt like for a jumping on point for us, it got right into the action, and we were in the middle of this story. And it's only a 4-issue series, so this is like, about to close up the arc. What were your thoughts on this?
First, I want to say that I am a fan of the Aliens and of the Predators. Love the movies, some more than others.
Same.
I like the idea of expanding on, their universe and learning more about them, where they come from. Because, they're both 2, up to this point, very mysterious races. It was interesting because rather jump when I saw her in the hive, I was like, oh, that's the queen. And when I saw she didn't attack, I was like, oh, she's infested. And then later on, she's like, yeah, I'm infested because she wouldn't attack. I'm like, yep, that's what they do. I thought it was interesting seeing one of the humans with a predator. Anytime you see something like that, like even they did it in the first Alien versus Predator movie, it's always interesting to see that when they team up because they don't speak our language. So it's always interesting to see how that kind of dynamic can work.
React, yeah.
I definitely felt the emotion when they're making the argument to try to go save her, and she's like, "Don't come save me. I'm infested. I'm dead." And they're like, "Well, we've already talked to the Whaling Company," which for fans of the movie know who the Whaling Company is. So I found it was interesting, like, no matter what incarnation it is, this company is always trying to get their hands on an alien embryo,
alien baby, yeah.
Especially if a queen, if they can, especially if it's a queen. And it seems like whenever they're about to get their hands on one, it's always a queen. Like, they always just have the luck of like, well, we need this alien. They're infected. It's the queen. Oh, yes.
Lucky queen.
Lucky. A lot of the designs, like of the ship, reminded me of the ship from the actual Aliens movie. So it makes me think it's set around the same time frame as that. Even the team kind of reminded me of the Space Marines from Aliens.
Same here, yeah. The huge Gatling gun.
Which is awesome because that's like my favorite Aliens movie is Aliens. I did feel though like I was just dropped into the tail end of a storyline because there was some stuff in here that, like, they was talking about the ship that crashed and the toxic waste or whatever leaked out. I'm kind of like, okay, what ship did that? She's talking about how she keeps finding the deformed dead alien babies laying around everywhere. I'm wondering, like, well, have they been seeing that in the last couple issues and it just popped up in this issue because she noticed one come right out of somebody like that? Definitely was curious about whether it's wrong or right. We're gonna call it the Prometheus.
Yeah.
Was definitely curious as to what that is. Is that supposed to be some kind of new alien life? Is it native to this planet they're on? There was a lot of questions that possibly could have been answered in the last couple of issues that I'm curious about jumping into this one. There was definitely semi-action in this book. It kind of seems like if this was a movie, this is that point in the movie. As a matter of fact, I'm going to equate this to Aliens, to the movie. If this was the Aliens movie, this is the point in the movie where they know the aliens are there. They're trying to find a way to get out, and they're in the room trying to regroup and decide what to do next while the aliens are coming. And they had the little Gatling gun sitting outside the room.
Yep.
This is that point in the movie. So I'm guessing like the next issue is going to be something all out crazy with this Prometheus.
Oh, no doubt.
And so, I didn't love this issue. And part of that was because, like I said, I felt like we came in at towards the tail end of a story. Finding out that this is a 4-part series, but it's actually a 4-part arc. And what did you say? 17 issue series.
It's part of a bigger story because it started with Prometheus,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went on to I forget what else was after that. Because I remember I read the first issue of Prometheus, but then I unfortunately didn't go back and read the other ones.
See, that just makes it even more. That just gives me even less to like. Just because it's like, okay, it's bad enough I came into the tail end of a 4-part series, but it's actually a 4-part series as part of a bigger series.
Of a bigger world.
Yeah, so it just makes you wonder, like, how much backstory and stuff are you missing out on to get to this specific point in time? Yeah,
and that's why I kind of wanted to pick number 3 of all of them, just so let's just jump right in, see what happens with this and where we land with this issue.
Yeah, some stories you can do that. Some series you can jump in. Like all new Wolverine. All new Wolverine is on what is that issue? We just 14. Did issue 11?
14.
14. Wow, I said 11. We just did issue 14. You had never really read all new Wolverine too much, and you pretty much jumped in on about 13, right?
Yeah, I think we did 11 or 12. I think it's the first ones that we did, or that I read.
Okay,
but we talked about.
Okay, but even with 14, you see 14. 13. You're like, there's 12 issues before this, but you can jump into 13, and it's part of a different story arc. But it tells you everything you need to know to bring you right up to speed, so you don't necessarily even have to read those first issues. You know about her being the new Wolverine. You know about the experiments that made her. You know about the trickery. You know about all this stuff. And that's deep into a series. Some series are like that. Other series like this, you jump in, and there's kind of a little backstory part in the beginning, but it's not
enough though. Because if you haven't read Prometheus, you probably jumping right into this, you would want to go back and probably read Prometheus. But I enjoyed this issue enough to start the story arc of this one, because they dropped a lot of hints. I want to see how Galgo and Ahab became friends. I do want to see the relationship between Chris and her girlfriend. I do not have her name on the top of my head right now. Jill was her name. I'd like to see their relationship. I want to see the team's relationship. And kind of the whole toxic waste thing, how that's spilled. I like this book enough to definitely want to go back and read 1 and 2, and maybe at some point catch up on Prometheus, so I can get a feel for these characters.
I would definitely, I would second that. But I didn't love this. I didn't fall in love with this issue. There is enough in there to make me curious to go back and, like you said, at least read the first 2 issues of this arc. Then maybe I would love this. Maybe if I read the first 2 issues before this, I'd be like, oh, that was great, because, it answered the question about this and they tied this into it. Maybe that would make it better for me. But as of right now, until I read those first 2 issues, this didn't do too much for me.
Okay.
But besides some fan service, because like I said, I always like the Queen. The Queen obviously is like the best of the aliens.
Yep.
And then, like I said, the ship, and seeing that these seem to be the Space Marines, and I rechecked the front, and yes, these are the Space Marines. And I like the idea of the Space Marines. They're part of what made the second Alien movie so great.
Yeah.
The service with the Predator. I think it's funny how now we try to tie aliens and predators together so much now.
So much.
And if you think I am definitely curious about this Prometheus thing with these like liquid metal gun arm things going on.
Yeah, he's coming out guns blazing at that last panel.
Yeah.
But I was super confused.
And then, like you said, the toxic waste spill. The toxic waste spill also has me curious.
Yeah.
But until I go back and read those 2 issues, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of this one.
Okay. We're actually on the 2 different sides of the fence for once.
Yeah.
I was still hella confused about what that Prometheus blew up. That was super confusing. I was like, glad I even went back to see what he could have blown it up. Because he blew up the airplane.
He blew up the
jet
ship initially.
But that was afterwards. That was confusing. That was like the only part I probably didn't like about this book. But overall,
And you know what I'm
the dialogue
wondering?
was great.
You know what I'm wondering? As you said that, I went back and looked. I don't think he blew anything up. I think she did. Because remember, she makes the threat about
Oh shit. Yeah.
about, you see what I'm doing, you see this and everything, and then you see her flip the switch, and then you see her tell the queen to back off, and the queen starts hissing, and then the Marines are moving in. Well, it looks like they're trying to move into her position, and then you see the boom. So I wonder if that was her detonating it, and it just happens that the Prometheus was already coming over that hill or whatever. So that may have been suicide. Yeah, because as soon as the explosion happens from wherever it happens, she immediately calls out for the girl.
Yeah, you're right.
And then that's when he's like, we got a whole different scale of problems to deal with.
Yeah, I definitely plan on probably maybe even tonight I might read the first and second one.
I'm willing to bet this Prometheus thing is some, because the first issue of Prometheus, did it have to do with the movie at all? Or was it just called Prometheus?
I wish I could remember. That came out a while ago. I've only read it.
Because I'm just wondering if maybe this thing is designed to go into planets that are infested with the aliens and destroy all trace of them, which is why it would blow the ship up, because blowing the ship up ensures that nobody gets off the planet that could be infected. And maybe its job is to destroy every living thing on the planet to make sure that because essentially the aliens are like a virus. So maybe it's trying to make sure that virus does not get off the planet.
Yeah. Yeah,
because even in the Aliens movie, Ripley was like, we need to go into orbit and nuke the planet to make sure.
Yeah,
that was the only way to be sure was to nuke the planet and blow it up.
I was gonna say, yeah, for anyone listening, if you have read the first arc of Prometheus, feel free to definitely tweet at us or email us and give us any insight that you have into this that we may be missing out on. Would you say you'll read the next issue, or go back and read the first and second and finish this arc?
I would definitely go back, read the first and second issue to be caught up enough to read the last of the arc. Okay. It wasn't that disappointing to me where I'm not interested, because I've read story arcs where it's like, I don't care what happens at the end of this. I don't want to really read it. The first one that jumps to mind, even though I did read the whole story arc, but I was disappointed in a lot of it, was Convergence.
I picked up a couple issues when I got back into comics Convergence, and I didn't know where to start. So I picked up those 2 issues, and I was like, no, I'll wait.
I read all of Convergence and kept hoping. I was excited in the beginning because it looked like it was going to be something awesome, and then it dropped off, and then it teased like it was about to pick up, and then it didn't. And by that time, I was already almost over, and I was like, well, let's see how this actually changes anything in the DC universe. And to be honest, it only changed. I mean, I have one thing to be thankful for Convergence. At the time, I wasn't. But the only thankful thing I have about Convergence is it gave us back classic Superman. And it allowed us to have John Kent. That's the only good thing that came out of Convergence, was the fact that we got, classic Superman, classic Lois, and we get John Kent. But overall, I hated Convergence. This is not that kind of book where I overall hate this book and don't care what happened before or after. I am interested to find. I just want to fill gaps, and I feel like the way the story is, if gaps were filled in, that I could better appreciate this story and maybe even better like the story.
Because there's a lot of dialogue of them touching on things that happened previously in the first 2 issues.
Yeah.
For sure.
No one likes to be left out in the dark.
No. Everyone wants to be on the cool side.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, those are our books for the week. And we are going to move on to the rankings.
This is probably going to come as to no surprise to anybody what my number 1 book is this week. But my number 1 book this week is Superman number 11. Just like the previous number 10, I just love the story arc, and I love what they're doing with the dynamic of the kids and with the fathers and where this seems to be headed. My number 2 is All New Wolverine, number 14. I'm an X-23 fan, and I like where this could be headed and the implications of this story. There wasn't any action, but I was invested from the last issue, from seeing what happened with Lord at the end and the whole trigger scent thing coming back. So I definitely like where they're taking this. My number 3 is Killer Be Killed, number 4. This was overall, like you said, it was a little thick, but this was a solid story. While it didn't answer all the questions I wanted, it put enough in the book for me to be interested and further invested in the rest of this series to see where this goes. Awesome. And it definitely left me on a cliffhanger that has me like, I need to know if this is reality for him or if this is something that's all in his head. Number 4 for me is going to be Batman number 11. I was super surprised at the end of this book with Catwoman deciding to go AWOL and kill, more than half the team. Well, no, she did kill half the team.
Yeah.
And it was 6 of them. She killed half the team. I was definitely really interested with what they did in the beginning of the book the most, though, with the dynamic between Catwoman and Batman. And given what I've said before about Catwoman, how it kind of sort of hinted a little bit at what I've been saying about that character. And it shows that they may be, possibly getting ready to do something drastically different with Catwoman. Book number 5 is going to be Suicide Squad number 6. While there wasn't a ton, there was action in the book. It was basically, all out fighting in the book. For me, it might be corny, but the Harley Quinn moment was hilarious to me, seeing her go sane while everyone else is going insane. And definitely, if not that, the Crocodile Tears story, the backup issue about Killer Croc, which I thought was awesome. It was crafted well. It was told well. The artwork was great. And it was interesting to take a character that people see as pretty much just a muscle-bound monster in the Batman's rogue gallery and actually give him some humanity was great. Which brings me to number 6, which shouldn't be a surprise, is Aliens, Life and Death, number 3 or 4.
You're crazy.
I just feel like if I go back and get a little bit more backstory, I'll like this more. It's like I said, it's enough to interest me to want to do that. It makes me want to read the first 2 issues in this arc and then be prepared for the 4th issue of this arc. But just jumping in on this, it's just not doing enough for me to be like, I just absolutely love this book and feel it deserves higher than 6. This week, this book is number 6 for me.
Okay. All right. So for my list, I have Killer Be Killed, number 4 at number 1. Okay. It hit all the marks for me. It keeps me wondering about what's going to happen. I'm a little bummed that we have to wait till January, if I'm correct, for the next issue. Superman number 11 is at my number 2. Continues to be a solid book since the last issue, and it hit all the same notes for me from the last issue as well. Batman number 11, I sentiment everything you said as well, especially the beginning. The interactions between Catwoman and Batman alone was probably my favorite part of that book. And then the huge shocking reveal. At number 4, I have All New Wolverine, number 14. I continue to enjoy this book and the dynamic between Gabby and Laurel. I kind of wish it would have picked up just a little bit, but I think, like we were saying, if there's like 2 issues left or 3, have 2.5 of those being, craziness since they're going to Madripoor. Number 5, I have Aliens: Life of Death, number 3. Jumping on, there was definitely things that, I could have known about if we had read the first 2 issues. But overall, I still like the storyline of what's going on right now, and the fact that if she did blow up herself at the end, that's going to be a big thing leading into the next issue. But no surprise that number 6 is Suicide Squad number 6. It felt like a Twilight Zone jumbled mess. I wouldn't say mess, but it felt like we skipped an arc, or not an arc, but an issue or 2 prior. And for this being the second issue of a new arc, but they're still telling the story from the previous arc, kind of just threw me off a little bit. And I thought it could have been like the whole tunes that Harley was hearing. It could have been played out a little bit more, sprinkled throughout the issue. But I also think it hurts that it's only a 15 issue comic, but then they have the backstory for the rest. I'm not sure if Jim Lee only has 14 pages in him. But I did enjoy the backup story. Everything you said pretty much, they show you that, there is a human under Croc, and he just plays that role because everyone thinks that, he is supposed to be that way, and he is that way, even though he's not. But yeah, that is my list for this. That's my rankings list for this week. And we were last week we were spot on, but not this week.
No, not this week. We had some discrepancies here.
Yes, we did, but that'll happen.
Well, we still had some of the same top books. Like, at least I think our top 3 were the same books. They just were in different orders.
Correct. Yeah. No doubt. Do you have any non-spoiler honorable mentions?
I do not have any this week. My week was so busy; it was hard to get anything else in besides these 6 books. If anybody ever wondered, normally we both do read all 6 of the books that we review. I know we go back and forth between who does what. So some people might make it seem like, you only read those books, I read my books, and it's not the case. We normally read all the books.
Oh, yeah.
So that makes it kind of hard sometimes to get in, something that's like an honorable mention, at least for me. It makes it hard, depending on what my schedule's looking like.
No doubt.
No honorable mentions. I did pick up. Well, you know what? I take that back. I may have an honorable mention. I just haven't read it yet. Silk number 14, which I have not read yet. I did pick that up when I went to the comic shop. I am a fan of Silk. I do like Silk as a character, and so far I have not really been let down by the character. I do kind of wish they could do a little bit more with her, but I guess that'll be my honorable mention. Okay. Something I have not read, so it's no spoilers. You don't have to worry about any spoilers. Because it is something that I plan on reading, and it's a character that I do like.
Nice. I've never read any of Silk.
Oh, Silk is a great character. They introduced the idea of her doing the Original Sin storyline. Did you read any of the Original Sin?
I did not.
Oh well, you know of the storyline, correct?
No.
Somebody killed the Watcher, stole the Watcher's eyes. It turns out the Watcher's eyes are like a hard drive on the computer and memorizes everything he sees. In the end of it, one of the eyes essentially explodes like a knowledge bomb, and everybody in the immediate vicinity gets hit with knowledge of things about themselves, and is the Original Sin stuff. So the Hulk finds out, Bruce Banner finds out that Tony Stark had something to do with the explosion that turned him into the Hulk.
Okay.
And Spider-Man found out that the spider that bit him actually bit somebody else too, which was Cindy Moon. And it turns out that she was locked up in some facility for all these years, and he gained the knowledge of where she was at and went and got her out. She became Silk.
Okay.
She's essentially like the third Spider-Woman.
That's cool.
Well, second because I guess you can't really count, Spider-Gwen yet.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I was able to read, which I definitely recommend to you. I read, I finally went and picked up Teen Titans #1.
Ooh.
And it is solid. I like it way more than Titans. Like I told you a while back that I dropped Titans for now, but I'm glad I picked up Teen Titans because it's pretty solid. That and also read. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was thinking about picking up that Teen Titans because my cousin is a huge Titans fan. He loves the Teen Titans, especially Beast Boy. He likes Beast Boy. So I started to pick it up for him. And with you saying that, I probably will, and I'll end up reading it because they're probably like, "You gotta read this; it's so great."
Yeah, it's solid. It's on point. But yeah, I also read from DC's Young Animal. Cape Carson has a cybernetic eye, #2. So yeah, it continues to be a cool book. Still getting some answers out of that. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions for this week, and that is going to bring episode 8 to our closing. So yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Again, make sure you subscribe and rate us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter under the show name. But yeah, we appreciate you. Keep downloading. Again, if you have any feedback, feel free to tell us. If you have any info to tell us on Prometheus and what we should know about that book, please let us know. Anything else you want to say?
Nope. I will see everybody next week. As we announced last week, I'm still working on this store. I just got my license and everything in the mail, so it's official that we are a entity. We just got to get that down payment going for that store so we can set up shop. But other than that, everything appears to be going very good and very smoothly.
That's awesome.
Maybe we'll do some kind of like special episode or something on the opening of the store or something. I don't know.
I'm down.
We'll figure something out. We'll do something special.
I'm definitely down. All right, everyone, we're going to get out of here again. Thanks for listening. Next week, we'll be discussing Harley Quinn #6, Teen Titans #2, Death of X #4, Spider-Gwen #14, Detective Comics #945, Hellboy in the BPRD, 1954, The Unreasoning Beast #1, and Wolf Cop #2.